Mr. Simpson is again present before the court with his counsel, Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Cochran, Mr. Douglas, Mr. Bailey, people represented by Ms. Clark, Mr. Darden. The jury is not present. Counsel, is there anything else that we need to take up before we invite the jurors to join us?
Yes, Your Honor. The court pleases.
Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, this concerns the videotape that the defense was given a copy of only yesterday from the prosecution, which clearly turned out to be a piece of very favorable evidence to Mr. Simpson's defense. As the court is well aware,
Which videotape are we talking about here?
we're talking about the recital videotape, Your Honor.
All right.
As the court is well aware, the case of Brady versus Maryland obligates not only the district attorney's office, but also its agents in the Los Angeles Police Department to immediately turn over information or evidence that is favorable to the accused. In this instance, Your Honor, we happened to learn from the person who created that tape, a Mr. Scott Kennedy, only last week of its existence, and we're able to see it for the first time only last Friday when we were able to receive a copy directly from Mr. Kennedy. Your Honor, we had raised the issue of this tape in court on Thursday, and both Mr. Darden and Ms. Clark claimed to have had no knowledge of its existence, but that they would check into it. We learned from the testimony of Canvas Garvey that on Friday afternoon, this same copy of this tape was shown to her, and she had a chance to preview it in preparation for her testimony. Kennedy claimed, Your Honor, that he had sent a copy of the tape to the prosecution back in July, and since early July, we had repeatedly requested any Brady-type material, and were assured that there was none, or that which was in their possession had been given over. Your Honor, 2 weeks ago, I stood before this court at this podium, and I was lambasted for conduct that was termed the most egregious in the history of jurisprudence. I choose not to reach into my bag of hyperbole and whack the prosecution over the head with it for their conduct, but my indignation is every bit as strong and severe. And I worry, Your Honor. I've practiced criminal law for 15 years, and this has indeed happened in other cases where there has been failure to turn over Brady type of material. So it's not new to me, Your Honor. But depending on the explanation that the people would offer for its non-disclosure until now, I think that there is the supreme risk for there to be due process violations of a constitutional dimension. And I urge the court to conduct an official inquiry into the circumstances of this tape's coming into the possession of the people, how it was that they were in possession of it for 7 months and did not either realize that it was Brady or failed to turn it over to the defense, and most importantly, what sorts of mechanisms have now been in place to make sure that the people have disgorged their files of all Brady-type material, and what sorts of new mechanisms are now in place to assure that there will not be a repeat occurrence of this problem. Your Honor, I am accepting of the notion that such an inquiry can be done in camera, but I do think it very important that there be certain explanations brought to this court's attention. When the tape was first received, who had possession of it, how did they learn of its existence only after we mentioned it in open court, and as I said earlier, what is going to be done to make sure that there are not other Brady-type materials in the people's possession, and what mechanisms will assure that there will not be a repeat occurrence of this. As the court is aware, Brady requires the people to turn over not only evidence that is favorable on the issue of guilt or punishment, but it also requires the turning over of evidence that may reflect on the credibility of material witnesses. Indeed, Your Honor, commentators have noted that as it relates to Brady material, the far better practice of the prosecution is to resolve any doubtful questions in favor of disclosure. There are, Your Honor, witnesses in this case that are very material, and I remember the words of Mr. Simpson as he returned back to lockup last night, which kind of echoed the words of Rodney King, "Thank goodness for videos." I wonder how Mr. Simpson's defense and his cross-examination of both Mrs. Garvey and Denise Brown would have been adversely affected had those tapes not been turned over to us when they were, because we would have been left with the image of a brooding, vacant O.J. Simpson rather than a smiling, happy-go-lucky man. And indeed, Your Honor, that tape was able to clearly illuminate the true facts of that day and are very central to our case. On those comments, Your Honor, I'll submit the matter.
Any comment from the people?
I can't believe that Mr. Douglas is still whining about the sanctions the court imposed a couple of weeks ago as a result of his own misconduct regarding the issue of discovery. I cannot speak to the issue of when the tape came into the possession of the prosecution because I was not a part of the prosecution team in this matter, apparently, when the tape came into our possession. But when Mr. Cochran brought it to our...
Do you have a rough idea when that was?
Do I have a rough idea when that was?
Yeah.
No. I'm sure it's been up there a while, though. But when it came into our possession, I don't know. When Mr. Cochran brought it to our attention, then we went in search of that particular tape. We have some 400 videotapes upstairs, and that happened to be one of them, unfortunately. I would simply like to point out that obviously we were not hiding the tape. The fact of the tape's existence apparently was known to others outside the DA's office, so why would we hide it? It's a mistake. It's another innocent mistake in a situation where you have 30,000 pages of discovery and hundreds of videotapes. It happens.
Is this videotape logged in any way, in any of the logs that was disclosed to the defense?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Right.
In fact, it wasn't disclosed in any log provided to Deputy DA Christopher Darden, for that matter, Your Honor.
Well, let's address Mr. Douglas's request that how are we assured that everything that is Brady versus Maryland type material has been identified and disgorged by the prosecution?
Well, I am confident that every piece of paper and every audio tape that we're required to turn over has been turned over. And I'm confident now that every videotape we're required to turn over has been turned over. As for Mr. Douglas's characterization of the tape as being somehow exculpatory, I disagree. I think that the demeanor and appearance of the defendant in that videotape is nothing like I've ever seen of the defendant. It doesn't even look like him. It looks like an entirely different person. And that, of course, is an issue for the jury to resolve. But I don't think there are any other problems with our discovery. I didn't have a chance to write out 5 or 6, pages of commentary for this morning's proceedings like Mr. Douglas did.
I'm just happy, Your Honor, that Mr. Darden is not sitting on this jury. I think, Your Honor, it's interesting how everything that they do is innocent and everything that we do is misconduct. But I'm not going to dwell on that. What I think the important thing is, Your Honor, is that there was a problem. Just how there was a problem with Marianne Gertjes and a statement, there was a problem apparently with the videotape in the people's possession since last July. And certainly I think that there has not been adequate explanation for the problem, and there needs to be in-camera and official inquiry. That's all that I ask.
Thank you, counsel. All right, just so it's clear, the court orders the prosecution to turn over any material that is defined by Brady versus Maryland. And I will conduct a later inquiry as to date and time as to the how this tape came into existence, when it was transmitted, and whether or not there is any failure to effectively evaluate.
I should indicate that Mr. Hodgman may be the best person to convey that information to the court, and when he returns, we will inquire.
When will
with him.
Mr. Hodgman be available again?
I'm not sure. I have no final word on that issue yet.
Okay.
Not on another issue, but for the record, we have asked the prosecution to return to us 12 videotapes taken from the defendant's home, and we'd like that done expeditiously. They may be useful in the case.
We have already assured Mr. Bailey that we will examine those videotapes, and this is now the third time, and turn them over if they have no evidentiary value.
All right. Let me know if we need to take that up later. All right, anything else before we invite the jury to rejoin us? All right, let's have the jury, please. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My apologies for having kept you waiting so long this morning. There were some very delicate matters that I had to inquire into this morning that took a significant period of time, and I appreciate your indulgence in this matter. It became necessary for me to excuse one of the jurors in this case, and we will now at this time ask Mrs. Robertson to draw the name of an alternate juror to replace that juror.
Juror number 1489, can you please have a seat in seat number 10?
All right, and let's ask 1492. All right, 1492, let me ask you to stay there, down there in the cheap seats, just until Mrs. Robertson has the time to readjust, and after the lunch hour, we'll change seats. All right. All right, are the people ready to call their next witness?
Yes, we are, Madam Chair.
All right, you may proceed.
People call Ms. Tia Gavin.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Please have a seat on the witness stand and state and spell your first and last names for the record.
Tia, T-I-A, Gavin, G-A-V-I-N.
Thank you.
Ms. Clark.
You comfortable?
Yes, Alice.
Ms. Gavin, directing your attention to the date of June the 12th, 1994. As of that date, where were you employed?
At the Mezzaluna Restaurant,
And where is that located?
11750 San Vicente Boulevard.
Your Honor, I have here a map of the area that I've shown to counsel. I'd ask if you mark Peoples next in order.
Peoples 26.
Thank you. And showing you this map, if you look at it for a minute comfortably,
You want me to point out the restaurant?
just a minute, so the jury can see it. No. you could use the pointer and step down.
It's right here where the yellow dot is.
That's the mezzaluna?
Yes, it is.
All right. Now, as of June the 12th, 1994, can you tell us where approximately you were living in relation to the mezzaluna?
Northeast on Gorham Avenue.
Can you point to that location roughly? Just give us an
Up around this area?
up above where the map ends?
Yes.
Do you happen to know did you know back then someone by the name of Ron Goldman?
Yes.
And did you know where he lived?
Yes.
Can you show us on this map where that was?
On the same block, right over here.
Approximately where that brown house is?
Yes.
And could you point to that brown house for the jury? And that's the same as shown in the icon there, Ron Goldman?
Yes, it is.
All right, you can have a seat. Thank you. Now, from where you were living at that time, how long would it take you to walk to the mezzaluna?
2 minutes.
And then Ron Goldman, did he live closer to the mezzaluna than you?
Yes, he did.
And so, how much closer was it?
About a half a block closer. Probably take him under 2 minutes.
Now, we're referring to this person named Ron Goldman. I'm going to show you a photograph. That's to be marked People's next in order, People's 27, Your Honor.
People's 27.
Thank you. Showing you People's 27. Can you tell me if you recognize?
Yes.
Show
Yes,
that
that's
photograph, and who is that?
it's Ron Goldman.
When did you begin working at the mezzaluna?
In late November of '93,
And when did you meet Ron Goldman?
when he began work there in late January of '94.
Do you recall when Ron Goldman began working at the mezzaluna?
I believe it was in January of '94.
94. And is that when you met him?
Yes.
And in what capacity did he work there?
As a waiter,
And in what capacity did you work there?
as a waitress.
Directing your attention to the date of June the 12th, 1994, were you working at the mezzaluna on that date?
Yes, I was.
Do you recall what time you came in?
5 p.m., around then.
Now, when you work at the restaurant, when you come in, do you have to punch a time clock?
Yes, we do.
And do you have to punch out as well?
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. And is that true for everyone who works in the restaurant?
Yes, everyone except I think the managers, but everyone else.
And you're familiar with your own time card and what that looks like?
Yes.
You want to have your time card, counsel has seen. I'd ask to be marked People's 28.
All right, People's 28, copy of the time card.
Thank you.
And Ms. Gavin, there's a monitor right there. Can you see that?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, do you recognize what's being shown there, ma'am?
Yes, it's my time card.
I noticed that the name there is Tia Smith.
That's my maiden name.
Okay. That was before you changed it.
Yes.
Okay. And that's your time card for the week ending on June the 12th, 1994?
Yes.
Okay. Jonathan, if you can move it up a little bit and show Sunday on there. There we go. You see where it says Sunday, which would be June the 12th?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And does it show there where you clocked in?
Yes, it does.
And what time does it show?
5:02 p.m.
Okay, we can take it down for now. Now, on the night of June the 12th, did you happen to see Ron Goldman?
Yes.
Was he working there also?
Yes, he was.
And did you discuss who was going to take which table?
Yes. I noticed when I came into work that there was a party of 10 on the reservation book, and so we were trying to decide who would take the table, what stations we'd work. And at that point, Ron saw the name and said, "Oh, it's Nicole Brown. It's a friend of mine."
Okay. Did that seem to be something of big significance to him, or was it just...
No, he didn't know she was coming in, but he just said, "Oh, that's a friend of mine." It didn't seem like a big deal.
Okay. And so who took the table of, that was for the party of Nicole Brown?
I did.
Were there any other female waitresses, female servers there that night working in the Mezzaluna?
Yes, I think there was.
And who was that?
Heather Nygren? I think it's Nygren.
Thank you.
So it was you, were you two then the two female servers there that night?
Yes, there were three of us all together.
And so, oh, okay, it was you,
Ron, Heather, and myself.
just the three of you?
Yes, as waiters.
Now, did you happen to see Nicole Brown and her party arrive that night?
Yes.
About what time did they get there?
They were late for their reservation, about 15 or 20 minutes, so I'd say 6:45 or 6:50.
How many people were in her party?
10?
Did it include any children?
Yes. There were 4, I think.
Now, had you ever met her before that night?
No, I had not.
That was the first time.
Yes.
Do you recall what she was wearing?
Yes, a black dress, short black dress with a black blazer over it.
Was it like a halter dress?
Yes.
Do you recall whether there were any older people in the party with her?
Yes, there were. There was a older gentleman and a woman as well.
And were there some women approximately her age as well?
Yes.
Did you happen to notice whether she had a date or an escort with her?
I think the only gentleman there was her father.
Do you recall what time Nicole and her party left?
Between 8:30 and 9, 8:45-ish.
I'm going to show you a photograph and ask you to just tell me if you recognize who it is, and ask that this photograph be marked People's 29.
People's 29. Yes.
Thank you. Showing you what is now People's 29. Can you tell us if you recognize who that is?
Yes, I can.
And who is that?
Nicole Simpson?
Nicole Brown?
Yes.
Now, do you said between 8:30 and 9 that they left?
Yes.
Did you offer dessert to that party?
Yes, I did.
And did Nicole choose to have dessert?
No, they said that they were taking the children out for ice cream.
Do you recall seeing Ron Goldman leave before you did?
I don't remember seeing him leave through the door, walk out, no.
Did he get off or punch out his time card before you?
Yes, he was off at least a half hour before me.
Was he the first one to get off that night?
Yes, he was.
Can we bring it up again, please? It's showing you now once again the time card for Sunday, June the 12th, 1994. Can you tell us if it shows here on your time card what time you clocked out?
9:50.
9:50 or 9:58?
It's hard for me to tell on the monitor because that corner is...
Would it help if I showed you?
Yes, that's an 8, 9:58.
Thank you.
You blew it up, thanks.
Thanks, John. All right, when you clocked out at 9:58, was Ron Goldman still at the restaurant?
No, he wasn't.
Put up the map. All right, this is the same thing that you see in people's 26 up on the screen. You see the yellow dot you previously identified as the location of the Mezzaluna?
Yes?
Now, are you familiar with where the Mezzaluna is in relationship to 875 South Bundy?
Yes.
Can you tell us approximately how far the Mezzaluna is from 875 South Bundy?
Too long, about 2.5, 3 blocks. They're longer blocks, but
If you were to walk that distance, approximately how long would it take you from the Mezzaluna to 875 South Bundy?
under 10 minutes.
And can you also, are there 2 entrances to the Mezzaluna restaurant?
Yes?
What are they?
There's the front door, which is on San Vicente, and then there's a back door on Gorham that most customers don't use, but it can be used by customers. Rarely.
Bless you. Why don't customers usually use that?
Because there's a patio outside and there's a little gate around it, and there is actually a door to the gate that opens, but most people don't even, it's hard to tell that there's a door there, so most people don't realize they can go in that way. Often, even the employees, when they're going in and out of there, will just step over the gate. So it's much more inconvenient than coming in through the front door.
So most of the customers use the front door for entry and exit?
Yes.
And that entry and exit would lead you out onto San Vicente?
Yes.
Now, the street indicated right here, where I have the red dot, can you see that? Is it-
Yes, that's Gorham.
That's Gorham?
Mhm.
Okay. And then this street here is San Vicente?
Yes.
Thank you, I have nothing further.
Mr. Shapiro?
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Gavin.
Good afternoon.
How are you today?
Very good, thank you.
Did you have an opportunity to talk with Ms. Clark and Investigator Van Adder about this case?
Yes, I did.
And was that on September the 15th of this year?
Yes, that sounds right.
And during that conversation, did you inform both Ms. Clark and Mr. Van Adder that you believed the time clock was off 1 hour because of daylight savings time?
There was confusion over whether we were talking about there's a time on the NCR computer that we do our checks with and whatnot. And there was confusing whether we were discussing the time on that, which is always off, or whether it was the time clock.
Have you ever seen a report that was written by Mr. Van Adder regarding your interview with them?
No. No.
Did you tell Ms. Clark and Mr. Van Adder that when you left, you did not know whether Ron Goldman had left or not?
No, I'd be surprised if I said that.
Did you say that you did not know if Ron Goldman was still there when you left?
No, I'd be surprised if I said that.
And let me show you a copy. Did you see Mr. Goldman sitting with somebody at the time you left the restaurant?
At the time I left, no. Earlier in the evening, he was sitting with John DeBello and Richard Abellino, the managers at the time.
So you did not tell Mr. Van Adder that you remember seeing Ron Goldman after he got off work sitting at one of the tables with John DeBello at approximately 9:30 p.m.?
Yes, after Ron got off work, yes. I thought you said after I left. As I left, I saw him sitting there. I did not, but I saw him sitting there before he left, yes.
And then the report continues, she stated she did not see him leave the restaurant.
That's correct.
So you did not see Ron leave the
That's
restaurant?
correct.
And she stated the time clock was off, she believed, 1 hour because of daylight savings time and would supply her time card for June 12th. Did you say that?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Do you know if the Nicole Brown Simpson party was seated immediately when they came in the restaurant?
I think they probably were because they were late, and I don't remember anybody milling around by the bar.
Do you have any independent recollection of whether they were seated immediately or not?
No, I don't.
And would you agree that in serving 10 people that you were the only wait person doing that job?
Yes.
And does it take some time to get the orders from the kids and to get organized for that larger group?
Certainly.
Do you have any independent recollection as to what Nicole Brown Simpson had for dinner that night?
No.
Excuse me.
No.
Do you have any way of refreshing your memory as to what she had for dinner?
Only discussions that happened after the event.
Discussions with whom?
People in the restaurant, employees, fellow employees.
And did that refresh your memory as to what she had for dinner?
Yes.
And, well, what did they tell you?
Rigatoni. So
Do you recall whether there was an appetizer or any starter?
I don't. I recall there was one bottle of wine ordered. I think it was a bottle of Chianti. And that's the only specific food item I remember.
You anticipated my next question.
Oh.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Do you recall how long the dinner took for the 10 people?
Believe about an hour and a half.
So your estimate is by no earlier than 8:30 and possibly 9 o'clock, the dinner was completed and the party left.
Yes.
And it was your understanding they were going out for dessert.
Yes, they told me as much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Clark?
Yes. Mr. Shapiro asked if you had read the statement. He offered to let you read it. He didn't let you read it, did he?
No.
I'm going to let you read it now. I want to let you first review it, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions about it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Shapiro asked you if you ever told Detective Van Adder that you did not know whether Ron Goldman was still there when you left. You recall that question?
Just now? Yes.
Do you see anywhere in that report that you said any such thing?
No.
Mr. Shapiro also asked you if you told Detective Van Adder that at the time you left the restaurant, you saw Mr. Goldman sitting with somebody at a table at the time you left. Do you see that in the report anywhere?
No, it says she remembers seeing Ron Goldman after he got off work, sitting at one of the tables.
But not that you saw that at the time you left.
No.
With respect to the time clock, do you recall resolving that question in your mind as to whether or not it was off due to daylight savings?
Oh, yes.
And what did you discover?
That it was not off, and that there was confusion over whether we were talking about the time on the NCR machine or the time on the time clock.
Are you talking, when you say the NCR? When you say the NCR machine, can you tell us what you mean by that?
I think that's what it's called. I think that's the company that makes the computer. It's the computer that you put all your orders into when you're making orders and prints the checks that you deliver to the table.
Kind of like the cash register,
Yes,
only
except it,
fancier now.
except it, yeah, it doesn't have cash in it.
And so that was the machine that was off in terms of time.
Yes.
So the receipts that are printed out for credit purchases or, I guess, cash purchases too, will show a time for the customer that is incorrect.
It could, yeah. I mean, it has been off quite a lot. I don't know who regulates that, but
So if a customer pays with a credit card, that machine is going to print out a time on it that is not reliable.
whether they pay by credit card or not, it's not, because it's not related to the credit card machine, which is a separate machine altogether. It's the check that you deliver to the table. So if they kept a receipt, it would. If they paid by credit card, it might be the credit card receipt. If they kept their check, then that would have a time on it, and that would most likely not be right, but it could be.
On the other hand, the time clock that you punch in and out of, the employees punch in and out of, that was accurate.
Yes.
So the times that you just told us about when you punched in and out on your time card, those are correct?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Recross?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, may we mark the witness's statement form as defendants, I believe it's 1004? May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Does the last paragraph... I'm sorry.
I do like giving it to counsel right now.
Let me have Mrs. Robertson run back and make a photocopy so you don't lose your copy. Mrs. Robertson?
There's actually two statements.
Tell me the latter one, or a very simple question. Continue without showing her the report. In reading the report, did I accurately read to you those statements that you read to yourself?
Well, I thought I heard you say when you left, did you see Ron Goldman?
Perhaps I misspoke myself then. Other than that, did I accurately read that?
I believe so. Yes.
So there's no confusion. Do you have an independent knowledge as to when Ron Goldman left Mezzaluna on June the 12th?
But he left before I did, and that's as much as specific as I can be. That I am sure of. Exactly what time before me, I have no idea.
But you did see him leave the restaurant?
No, I didn't see him leave.
Well, how do you know he left before you?
Because I was in the restaurant for a good, I have a memory of being around the restaurant doing my duties and whatnot for at least 20 minutes speaking with people. It's not that big a restaurant, and I didn't see him unless he was hiding somewhere.
Are there any restrooms in the restaurant?
Yes?
I take it you didn't check to see if he was in the restroom?
No, I didn't.
What about the kitchen area? Are there any back employees areas?
There's a kitchen, a small kitchen.
Did you check there?
I wasn't checking for him. I wasn't.
So you are surmising, are you not?
Yeah.
That he
That
had
over the
left,
course of the half hour that I was there and I didn't see him, that he wasn't there.
but you don't have any independent recollection of actually seeing him leave the restaurant?
No.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Ms. Clark? All right, Ms. Gavin, thank you very much for coming in. Please don't discuss your testimony with anybody else other than the lawyers in the case till the case has been concluded. Do you understand the order, ma'am?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much for coming in. Ms. Clark, your next witness, please.
Yes, thank you, Rob. Can you call Stuart Tanner? I need to inform counsel of something before.
Certainly.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, it is.
Please have a seat in the witness stand and state and spell your first and last names for the record.
My name is Stuart Tanner, S-T-E-W-A-R-T.
Sure. With the report, please. All right, thank you, counsel. Ms. Clark, you may proceed.
Thank you, Ron. Mr. Tanner, can you tell us how you were employed as of June the 12th, 1994?
I was a bartender,
And where were you a bartender?
Mezzaluna.
You know where the Mezzaluna is located?
Yes, I do.
And what's the location?
11750 San Vicente.
Can I ask you to try and keep your voice up?
I'm sorry. Oops.
Talking to it like a
Okay.
telephone.
Okay.
Let you use a pointer. Can you show us on this map that's been marked as People 26? What's the location of the Mezzaluna?
Right here.
Where the yellow dot is?
Correct.
Thank you. For the record, the witness has pointed to the yellow dot on that exhibit, Your Honor.
Noted.
Thank you. And how long have you been working at the Mezzaluna as of June the 12th, 1994?
I started employment there as of November of '93.
As of June of 1994, what were your duties there?
I was hired as a waiter and then moved into the bartending position, so at that particular point in time, I was bartending and waiting tables. On that particular evening, I was working as a bartender.
Okay. And so when did you work as a bartender? What nights?
Saturday, Sunday, and Monday evenings.
And June the 12th was a Sunday?
Sunday evening.
So you were working as a bartender?
Correct.
At the time, at some point, did you become acquainted with someone by the name of Ron Goldman?
Yes, I did.
And how is it that you happened to meet him?
He was a co-worker at Mezzaluna.
We're going to show you a photograph that's been marked as People's 27?
Yes, 27.
People's 27, sir. Can you tell us if you recognize?
Yes, I do.
And who is that?
That is Ron Goldman.
And when was it that you met him, sir?
I believe he started his employment at about January of '94.
Now, were you also acquainted with someone by the name of Nicole Brown?
Yes.
And was she a regular customer at the Mezzaluna?
Yes, she was.
Showing you the photograph that's been marked as People's 28, sir, if you can, tell us if you recognize the person shown in this photograph?
That is Nicole Brown.
Now, on the night of June the 12th, do you recall whether or not you saw Ron Goldman at the Mezzaluna restaurant?
Yes, I did.
And what was he doing there?
He was working
As a waiter?
as a waiter.
Did you also see Nicole Brown that night?
Yes, I saw her.
And did she come into the Mezzaluna alone?
No, she was with a party of about 10 people.
And do you recall what time she got there approximately?
6:30-ish.
Did you recognize some of the people that were with her in that big party?
Yeah, she was with a few of her sisters were there, her mom, and I believe her children were with her as well.
Did you make some plans with Ron Goldman for later on that evening?
Yes, I did.
What were those plans?
We were going to get together after work and meet at a bar in Marina del Rey.
Can you tell us, sir, in relationship to the Mezzaluna and 875 South Bundy and the restaurant you were going to meet him at that night, is 875 South Bundy, would that be on his way to that restaurant?
Yes.
And that restaurant was where?
It was in Marina del Rey, near the end of Washington, going west.
So if he was going to go from, were you familiar with where he lived?
General vicinity, not the exact location.
Very close to Mezzaluna, was it?
Within walking distance.
If he were to go from his house to the restaurant where he was supposed to meet you,
Mhm.
would he pass by 875 South Bundy?
He very well could, yes. That would be on the way.
And how did you plan to get together that night?
It wasn't a definite plan. Basically, Ron got off work before I did, and he was either going to call me later or I was going to call him.
So Ron got off work before you did?
Yes.
Did you happen to notice whether Nicole Brown left the restaurant?
Yes.
Did she leave before Ron did?
Yes, she did.
Do you recall approximately what time she left?
Somewhere in the vicinity of 8:30, give or take.
Now, how was Ron dressed when he was working in the restaurant?
The standard uniform is a black pants, a white shirt, a vest, and a tie.
And was he wearing it that night?
Yes, he was.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Certainly.
A bag containing some clothing. I'd ask that the bag and its contents be marked as People's 29.
30, I believe.
30?
30? People's 30. Bag and contents.
Thank you, Ron. Showing you People's 30, sir. First, I'm going to remove a shirt. Used to be a white dress shirt and a pair of black dress slacks. Can you tell us if you recognize?
That would be our standard attire. Correct.
The waiter's uniform that you described?
Correct.
Minus the tie and the vest.
Correct.
Do these appear to be the clothing that Ron was wearing that night when he left the restaurant?
They appear to be.
Rather, when he was working at the restaurant?
Yeah.
Approximately what time was it when you last saw Ron in the restaurant?
I think he left somewhere in the neighborhood of before 10 o'clock, 10 minutes to 10, somewhere in that neighborhood. I didn't ever see him, pardon me, I didn't ever see him leave the building. Ron walked past me going towards the front door of the restaurant and saying that he would talk to me later. But I never saw him exit out that front door. I never saw him exit out the back door either.
So the last time you saw him, he was going towards the front door area, but you did not see him leave.
Right.
And that was at approximately what time?
Quarter to 10, roughly. Quarter to 10, 10 minutes to 10, somewhere in that.
Okay. And what was the last thing he said to you?
He said he'd talk to me later.
What time did you get home, sir?
11:30ish.
Did you hear from Ron?
No, I did not.
Did you ever hear from him again?
No, I did not.
Did you attempt to make contact with him?
The following morning, we were supposed to work together, and I paged him because he was never late for work. And so I paged him shortly after 10:30. On Mondays, we usually got together a little early for coffee, but he didn't show.
your monitor, Mr. Tanner, and tell us whether you recognize what is depicted as item 101, photo number 101 in this photograph.
It's a beeper.
Shall we mark?
People's exhibit number on this?
We had a discovery number that we were using previously to identify it for the opening statement, but for now, perhaps we ought to just mark it as the People's 31.
All right, People's 31.
And I'm sorry, did you, does that appear, did you ever see the beeper that was owned by Ron Goldman?
It's just your standard black beeper that when you looked at the digital printout just gave you a...
Now, I have your box that is presently sealed. I'm going to ask that it be unsealed on the record.
All right, you want to describe for the record what you're doing, Ms. Clark?
Yes, Your Honor. Actually, I think I need to...
Victorinox.
For the record, I am cutting through Scotch tape and the Los Angeles Police Department seal. A small envelope marked with the DR number pertaining to this case, item number 36, photo ID number 101. Removing from this package appears to be a beeper that now has print dust on it, counsel and I are familiar with. Let me show it to the witness if I may.
All right.
And this is People's 32?
Do you want to make that 31A so it corresponds to the photograph?
Yes, thank you.
All right, 31A will be the, what appears to be a Motorola Bravo pager.
It's actually it's on...
Motorola, yes, thank you.
Bravo.
Yeah, that looks like his beeper.
And the same, the area screen for the digital printout, you see that? on
Correct.
this? Can you describe the, you said there's an entrance on to San Vicente.
Yes.
Is there a public entrance also that leads out to Gorham?
There is, but it's not often used for, that's the entrance to our patio, for patio dining. And there is a short green wrought iron fence that encompasses the patio up to the building. And there's a gate that you can walk out of onto San Vicente. If you were to go onto Gorham, you would have to step over that fence.
And so would you, in order to exit onto Gorham, would you have to walk through the patio and step over that gate, that fence, I mean?
You would have to step over the fence, yes. You would have to walk out that door and step over that fence.
And otherwise, if you went out either the front door or you went out through the patio and through that gate, you go on to San Vicente?
Correct.
And that, are you familiar with approximately how far 875 South Bundy is from the Mezzaluna?
Yes, I am.
And how far is it?
2 blocks down Gorham, and Gorham runs into Bundy, and Bundy would go left onto Bundy, about a block.
About how long would it take you to walk from Mezzaluna to 875 South Bundy?
5 minutes.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Your Honor, my examination is quite brief, like this.
Please.
Perhaps Ms. Clark can help us. I'm going to need a document that mine has underlying on it. It's in the homicide book, page 368.
And Mr. Darden, could I get you to just move this easel back about 1.5 feet?
I need a copy of it.
Once you
Just notice that we're blocking 2 of our jurors here. There we go. Better. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Tanner.
Good afternoon, Mr. Shapiro.
How are you today?
Good.
Had you, on previous occasions, gone out with Ron Goldman after work?
Maybe one time. Maybe not, but not. It wasn't like we went out on a regular basis. We were just starting to the point of becoming good friends.
And had you discussed where you were going to go in Marina Del Rey?
Yes, we had.
Where were you going to go?
We were going to go to the Baja Cantina.
What is that?
It's a Mexican bar and restaurant.
And you were going to touch bases about 11:30.
There was no set time. Like I said, it was he was going to either give me a call at the restaurant, or I was going to call him. And basically, what happened was we got busy, and I ended up staying later than I thought. And I got home and I hadn't received a call, so I just decided, you know what, I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed.
Would you find it a general habit of Ron that after he left work, if he was going to go out, that he was concerned about his physical appearance and that he would change his clothes?
Sustain.
Do you have any opinion as to whether or not Ron might take a shower after working all day and before going out to a bar in the evening?
Says he only went out with the guy once before. Just calling for speculation.
Thank you, Your Honor. You told us that you never actually saw Ron leave the Mezzaluna restaurant.
That is correct.
Do you know if he had anything to eat before he got off work?
I didn't see him eat after he was done with work. I don't know if he did or not. I mean, I was still working, so I was
It's a
busy.
small restaurant. Would you assume that if he sat down and ate with a manager that you would see it?
Objection, it calls for speculation.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
Okay. He sat down with the manager after he was done with work. He didn't eat.
He did not eat.
He did not. He had a bottle of water in front of him.
Did you serve any wine to the Nicole Brown Simpson party?
I couldn't tell you. I didn't wait on the table. When a drink ticket comes up, I see the waiter's name. I don't look at the table number. If wine went to that table, I don't know.
Did you have an interview with 2 members of the Los Angeles Police Department, Investigator Carr and Investigator Tippin?
I don't remember the names, but I did. I was interviewed by 2 gentlemen on Monday, the Monday after the murders.
And did they write a report?
Yes, they did.
And in that report, have you seen that report?
I think we went over this the last time I was here.
So you have seen it?
Yes.
Okay. So you know what I'm referring to?
I know what you're referring to, yes.
And in that report, they indicated that you had a conversation about some glasses that had been left at the restaurant, and that their report indicates, quote, Ron volunteered to take the glasses to her house.
Correct.
Do you recall that being in the report?
I recall that being in the report, yes, I do.
And it's your recollection that you never said that to the officers?
Again, we got into this last time. I don't remember if I did or didn't say it to the officers, but I may have been told that day by Karen Crawford that he was taking those glasses, because I did speak to her before they got there.
Do you remember last time we talked about this, you said quite possibly I didn't say it?
Yes, I did say that.
Thank you, nothing further.
Any redirect?
Thank you, no further.
All right, Mr. Tanner, thank you very much. You're excused. Please don't discuss your testimony with anybody else other than the attorneys until the matter has been concluded. Thank you very much, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take our recess for the noon hour. I want you to listen very carefully to me, however, before I release you. If you recall, every time that I excuse you, I tell you not to discuss the case amongst yourselves, form any opinions about the case, don't allow anybody to talk to you about the case, or allow yourself to be engaged in any type of inappropriate conduct. When I say not to discuss the case, I mean everything that goes on here in the courtroom is not to enter into, is not to be a topic of your discussion. That means you're not to discuss how long the case is taking, you're not to discuss what goes on at sidebar, you're not to discuss the apparel of the attorneys, you're not to discuss the personalities of the courtroom personnel. Anything that is connected with this case, you may not discuss amongst yourselves. You understand that? So the order is very clear. All right, have a very pleasant lunch, and we'll see you back here at 1:30. All right, we'll be in recess. Thank you, counsel. The Simpson matter, Mr. Simpson is again present with counsel, Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Cochran, Mr. Douglas, Mr. Bailey, people represented by Ms. Clark and Mr. Darden. Jury is not present. Counsel, anything we need to discuss before we invite the jurors to join us?
Yes, Your Honor.
What is that?
Can we approach it first and talk?
Sure.
What? I don't know why we need to approach. I want to mark the envelope with the glasses.
I see, I just wanted to be able to have open it over there and take a look. So we'll approach it and come back on it.
Sure. We don't need the reporter.
No, unfortunately.
glasses that were in the envelope that are depicted in some of the crime scene photographs that was given to Ron Goldman, by Karen Crawford on the night of June the 12th. In the photographs, you're unable to see the glasses, you're unable to see her handwriting that she placed on the envelope, which I would like to ask her to identify, and that will help her to identify the fact that this is the envelope, and that she put the glasses in and that she gave to Ron Goldman that night, and this is the envelope that is depicted in the crime scene photographs. So, as soon as we get a plastic bag in which to enclose this item, I'd like to be able to present it to the witness.
All right, Mr. Darden, is there somebody from your lab upstairs who is bringing us some type of sealable container?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Clark, how do you propose we deal with the other problem with that? Any 352 objection to that?
This is evidence that was recovered from the crime scene, Your Honor, that was sampled by the criminalist. That is key evidence in terms of Ron Goldman's departure from the restaurant and the purpose for which he departed, and clearly the probative value.
I understand the relevance of the matter. I'm just concerned about the condition, since it appears to be blood-soaked and dirt-soaked.
It is indeed, Your Honor, but there is no way for the jury to see from the crime scene photographs the handwriting of the witness, or for the witness to be able to identify the envelope with certainty in the crime scene photographs, because the front of it is not shown in any of those photographs, nor is one able to see the glasses encased inside the envelope in these crime scene photographs. There's so much hidden by the crime scene photographs that there's no way the jury can get all of the information from it, or that the witness can adequately identify it.
All right, we ought to at least identify the bag and its contents as People's next in order, which I believe would be People's 32. All right, People's 32, I take it you're offering this. The small lunch bag, brown paper bag, contents which appears to be a white envelope, business size, and appears to be contents of containing a pair of eyeglasses. Mr. Cochran.
Yes, Your Honor. I wanted to just, for the record, indicate we have some concerns, some 352 concerns, as the Court has expressed, where the probative value is outweighed by the prejudicial effect of the item. It seems to me, having discussed it at sidebar, what counsel wants to show, that if there are photographs, which I imagine there are, of this object, it would be easy to deal with the photographs and the object. It's going to be very difficult to be handled at any point. Counsel has on gloves. We don't have gloves on. The jurors aren't going to have gloves at some point, and it presents a number of problems. But quite specifically stated, it's a 352 problem, where the prejudicial effect will be outweighed by the probative value. If there are initials or there's writing on there, we have no problem with stipulating to what the writing says. We have no problem with who may have handled this, and the fact there are glasses therein. But if it's an attempt to just inflame the passions of the jury, it would be inappropriate under 352, and that's our concern. And so we ask the Court to do what is most reasonable under the circumstances. And if there are photographs, we'd like to see them and see if you can compare those photographs.
Well, counsel's seen all the photographs now for 7 months. He knows exactly.
That's not the question.
Knows.
I just want to see if there are photographs relating to this. I want to see them right now at this point. There's hundreds of photographs. I'm talking about photographs relating to that.
We'll be delighted to show counsel, but it will bear out what I've informed the court of, which is that it's a very limited view. And the jury's entitled to see how this witness can identify this particular, the crime scene envelope as the one that she put the glasses into, and she can't do that until she sees her handwriting.
How are you anticipating you presenting this to the witness, just showing it to her in a sealed bag? Hopefully we get one. You're not planning on using the Elmo or anything like that with it?
The Elmo with respect to crime scene photograph, yes, I will use that, but I'm going to encase this item in a sealed plastic envelope so that any health concerns or dangers that might, that counsel has raised will be resolved with that. Additionally, I would like to inform counsel I'm going to mark as people's next in order with this next witness. It was just placed on counsel table today. The bill showing an itemization of what was ordered by Nicole and her party on the night of June the 12th, 1994.
All right, we'll mark that as People's 33. Restaurant bill.
Neither have I. It was just brought to me after the lunch hours. I walked into court a few minutes ago.
All right, would you hand that to Mrs. Robertson? She'll make 2 photocopies. Ms. Clark?
Apparently, the restaurant keeps a record. I didn't know this. I'm assuming, because I didn't ask for it. I didn't know such a thing existed, and I guess they're watching. Perhaps someone knows that council has been asking what everybody ate for dinner, and they're trying to help out. If council wants to know, now council has a record.
I wonder if those are witnesses that are going to be called that are watching the television in violation of the court order.
Well, all of the witnesses that are going to testify from the Mezzaluna have testified, or the one who has not yet testified is in court. So it couldn't be anyone in violation of the court order. They were all here. And if council wants the information, instead of just finding,
Do you have any absolutely clear bags? Without the, are they all with that? No. Not what I had in mind, Mr. Benson. Get the original back. Is there writing on both sides of that?
well,
One
there
side is clear.
in the sense that there's criminalist writing on the other side that will probably. You want me to turn it around?
No, I'm just wondering how you're going to present it because of,
But what we need is actually a clear, completely clear bag.
because I'm reluctant to have witnesses handle that type of evidence.
How about, may I ask this, Your Honor, if for today, I have it sealed with the writing showing so that the witness can identify it, and that we transfer it into a completely clear bag for subsequent testimony?
All right.
Because this would be sealed this way.
All right. We'll do that. All right, Ms. Clark, are you telling us that the this bill from the Mezzaluna just sort of showed up this afternoon?
Yes, I had asked that the original time cards be forwarded to me so I could show them to council, because we had been using Xerox copies, and I wanted council to be able to ascertain that the copies were accurate and true copies of the originals. And along with that came the item that I just indicated, as well as this white receipt, credit card receipt that's signed Nicole Brown for the night of June 12th. I didn't know that these items had been preserved.
And do those items appear to be originals?
They do.
Plus, there's some writing on the...
There's some writing on this, the one that I have here, it says cash.
All right, council, why don't you take the opportunity to examine those items? And Mrs. Robertson now has a new supply of gloves if you need them. Any counsel?
There is a credit card receipt here from American Express for June the 12th that is signed by Nicole Brown. The amount of the total amount of the check was $179.95. That amount is shown on this receipt, in addition to a tip that was added for $34 with a total of $213.95. So this was paid by American Express, and I'm sure that if we have time to sit down with the next witness, we can have her explain.
Well, do council want to talk to the witness who brought these in before we call?
The problem is, Your Honor, this certainly materializes on their side of the table. We have a right to know about this. We want to talk to the witness. Find out where we are. Plus,
agree.
remember, Your Honor, there's a problem with regard to the time card. There's a part that's been altered, and we want the documents the way they were in at that time. And so we have no editorializing. We want to address that. We'd like to talk to the witness if we can do that.
I don't know what council's talking about editorializing.
Well-
The time card for Ron Goldman is intact as it was when he signed in and out. The only difference is that the manager at the time signed off and wrote deceased.
Putting that aside, since there's no dispute as to that, counsel, do you have any objection to taking a brief recess, allowing counsel to speak with the custodian of records who just brought these items in?
I don't know if there is a custodian of records present. On this form, the custodian of records is Lisa Jo Barnes. These items were given to us at 1 p.m. I first saw them at 1:30 when I walked into court, and I would be delighted to have counsel sit and talk to her. I would like to as well. So
Is she present?
she's not. She's at the office. She can be reached by phone? She can be reached by phone.
All right, let's take 10 minutes. Why don't you call her by phone, chat with her, and see if there's any question as to the authenticity or other foundation of these matters.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the record should reflect the copy that I have received indicates there were 9 guests. The date is June 13th, and the time is 7:04 a.m. I don't know if,
This is the problem that was referred to earlier by the witnesses, that the time stamp on these, thank you, on the NCR records is incorrect. It's exactly what we just had testimony about, if counsel were paying attention.
I thought they said that it was a change because of daylight savings time. Usually that's 1 hour.
No.
Well,
There was an
counsel,
indication that they were
wait,
concerned.
Let's not worry about, excuse me, let's not argue about that. We'll take a brief recess. Counsel can call this witness, examine the records. If there's some, I take it, Ms. Clark, you want to offer these records with the next witness?
I think I do, Your Honor, if I could have a chance to talk to her about it. I'm sure she could authenticate and explain, lay the foundation for this, because she works there and is familiar with the workings of those machines.
Okay, so I take it you'd like a few moments to do that.
I sure would.
All right.
Appreciate that. Perhaps Mr. Shapiro could use this time to review the records, see what the witnesses testified to.
All right, 15.
We've not had an opportunity to speak with the witness. There's a board of pictures of the Akita, however. They look at a problem, we want to talk to the court for describing those pictures.
Which pictures are these?
We have pictures of the Akita. The pictures were turned over to counsel, and they're presently on a board.
All right, may I see the board, please?
Your Honor, highly prejudicial matter. Pictures of a dog.
And what is the
The last one is the collar.
collar? And what is the dog standing on there? It looks like a pad of some sort.
What is it sitting on?
Yes.
It's a... Yeah, a doggy bed.
No, I'm just curious as to what it is. I can't see directly what it is from this.
It's,
this
um,
distance.
it's... Yeah, it's a towel.
All right, when were these photographs taken?
I'm sorry? I can't hear you.
Counsel,
What?
when were these photographs taken?
Um, a week or two ago. And the council has the pictures. They were turned over to them.
We received it within the last week.
Okay.
That's all, sir.
Council got them as soon as we did.
Well, there's no way we'll ever know that, that's for sure. We may have them, but we just saw them on this board today. You know, I just called it to our attention.
All right.
It's a recent, and it's just like everything else we've seen today. Because it's, we have a right to know about this single voter.
All right, well, there they
The
are.
report just got made, council. I mean,
All right.
it was just delivered to me this morning. It just got made. I'm showing it to you as soon as I got it.
Here it is.
And the court indicated that it wanted us to do the show and tell prior to the jury seeing it. I have other boards that were made up that will not come up for quite some time that have also been shown to council. As soon
Okay.
as these things are made, I show them.
All right. I take it you've seen it, you have no objection?
I've seen it now. I've noted for the record, Your Honor, if we got the photographs in the last week, I'll submit it.
All right. All right, anything else before we ask our jurors to join us?
Does Mr. Douglas want to talk to Mrs. Crawford? Any further? We will be offering these two items into evidence.
All right,
Maybe some foundational questions. We talked to her. We're not necessarily waiting on the foundation.
No.
I understand. Okay. All right, if we could we move our box here to not block the jury?
We'll remove everything.
All right.
Have we resolved the issue of the envelope?
Yes, I'll allow the witness to be shown the envelope and its contents. We can use the Elmo for it. Its actual presentation to the jury in its present condition, though, I'll hold off on that ruling until later. The actual presentation of the envelope and its contents to the jury I'll take up later to see if there are any photographs that accurately depict what's depicted there.
Thank you.
But for today's purpose, we can use the actual exhibit itself.
Thank you.
And I have one of the law clerks down at Save-On buying zipper lock bags right now. Ms. Clark.
Yes, I know.
So that should
Thank you, Your Honor.
be forthcoming.
I saw her on her way out.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
We sure? All right, let's have the jury, please. All right, let the record reflect we've now been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. And Ms. Clark, you may call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. People call Ms. Karen Crawford.
Raise your right hand, please. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause not to leave before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Please have a seat in the witness stand and state your spelling first and last name for the record.
Karen Crawford, Karencrawford.
Ms. Clark.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Crawford, can you please tell us what you do for a living?
I work at Mezzaluna.
And what is that?
It's a restaurant in Brentwood.
Located at?
It's on San Vicente Boulevard.
Is it, can you tell us, is it at an intersection?
It's on the corner of Gorham and San Vicente.
Okay. Directly to your left is a great big chart that's been marked as People's 26. If you would, please point to the jury where the mezzaluna is located on this. You can use a pointer. It's right there, right on the corner. Indicated in that yellow dot. Is that yes?
Yes.
Thank you. How long have you been working there?
How long have I been working there? For a year and a half now.
Back on June the 12th, what was your position at the Mezzaluna restaurant?
I was a manager on Sunday nights, and I bartended.
Now, on the date of June the 12th, 1994, that was a Sunday?
Yes.
And so what were your duties that night?
Well, I was managing that day, so I came in and I opened the restaurant. And through the course of the evening, I just oversaw the operations, and then I closed up. I did reports, things like that.
In the course of your employment at the Mezzaluna restaurant, did you meet Nicole Brown Simpson?
Yes.
She was a regular customer there?
Yes.
Directing your attention to the photograph that has been marked as People's 28, can I ask you if you recognize her?
Yes.
Is that Nicole Brown?
Yes.
Were you also acquainted with someone by the name of Ronald Goldman?
Yes.
Do you see his photograph there?
Yes.
People's 27? Yes. Thank you, Ronald. And how did you become acquainted with him?
I knew him through work.
Do you recall when he began working at the Mezzaluna?
He started working at Mezzaluna about 4 months before June 12th.
Early in 1994?
Yes.
When Nicole Brown had come to the restaurant on previous occasions, did you speak to her?
Yes.
Briefly exchange, hi,
Yeah,
how are
just
you?
niceties.
Do you recall seeing her in the restaurant on the night of June the 12th, 1994?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall approximately when she arrived?
I believe she arrived between 6:30 and 7.
Was she alone?
No, she was with a large group.
And do you recall who was in that large group?
There were several adults and some children.
Now, do you know what Ron Goldman did at the restaurant? What was his job?
Ron was a waiter.
And he was working there that night on June the 12th?
Yes, he was.
Did he wait on Nicole's party?
No, he didn't.
Now, do you happen to recall where Nicole and her party...
I'm sorry, Ms. Crawford, could you pull the microphone a little closer to you there, please, and angle it over towards yourself? It'll twist there. Thank you. Ms. Clark.
Thank you, Ron. Do you recall where Nicole and her party were seated?
Yeah, they were seated across the front of the restaurant in front of the bar area.
Why there?
Well, we had to set up a table for their party. It was a large group, and that's normally where we set up a large table.
Okay. Do you happen to recall what she was wearing that night?
She had on a black halter dress.
Was it above the knee?
Yes.
And while we're preparing to show you an exhibit, let me ask you a few questions. Do you have a machine that the servers enter the orders into?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the way that machine operates?
Yes.
Have you yourself operated it?
Yes, I have.
And are you familiar with the paper that it prints out indicating what a customer has ordered and the total
Yes.
amount of the food served?
Yes.
Can you tell us whether the server's name is indicated on that piece of paper?
It is on the paper.
Now, there's a timestamp that is created by that machine, is that right?
Yes.
Is it accurate?
No, it's never been accurate.
Does anyone use it or rely on it to fix a time as to when a particular party was served?
No.
And were you shown such an item today when you came into court?
Yes.
I'm going to ask that this blue receipt, at the top of which is handwritten Nicole Brown Simpson, Mezzaluna, June 12, 1994, be marked as People's 33, and a white receipt with the apparent signature of Nicole Brown be marked as People's 34, maybe 33A would be better.
It's a separate document,
34.
34. I think it's a credit card.
Credit card receipt.
Right, so it's separate from the...
First, I'd like to show you, I'll tell you what, put it on the envelope.
All right, Ms. Crawford, do you see the monitor that's over right there?
Yes.
Make that Can you see it on the monitor?
Yes.
Okay. Now, is this the piece of paper we were just talking about that comes out of the machine that the server punches the order into?
Yes.
And does this...
Just a moment.
Oh. Does that help a little?
That's fine.
Can you tell by this document who was the server that night?
Yes, Tia was the server.
Okay. It indicates the number of guests as 9.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that? Is that an accurate, necessarily an accurate number of the people that were present in that party?
Not always. If there are a lot of children in the party, they may count 2 children as 1 guest,
And why is that?
because they tend to eat less.
Now, you can see on that piece of paper that it says June 13th at 7:04 a.m.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
No, that's incorrect.
Is that always, that time and date stamp always incorrect?
As far as I know, as long as I've worked there, yes.
Can you move that up? Just move it, can you move it up a little bit? Now, does this show you what everybody ordered for dinner that night?
Yes, it does.
And it shows you the total amount that it came to, that it cost?
Yes.
$179.95?
Yes.
It also shows a phone number at the bottom of the receipt.
Yes.
See that?
Uh-huh.
You recognize that phone number?
I do, however, the area code's wrong.
It's now 310.
Right.
But that phone number, is that for the Mezzaluna restaurant?
Yes.
Could you pull it back down? Okay. There was a time on the top of that, I believe it's indicated 7:04 a.m.
Yes.
Okay. Can you turn it on? Okay, 7:04 a.m. Turn it over. Okay, we're showing you the other side of it now. At the top of this other side, it shows the time of 8:18 a.m. on June 13th.
Yes.
That's, of course, still incorrect.
That's still incorrect, yes.
But can you tell from this approximately when the check was opened and when it was closed in terms of how much time elapsed between the time the order was placed and the time that the check was paid?
Yeah, that would be a correct lapse of time.
So it's an hour and 14 minutes from the time that the order was placed to the time that the check was paid.
Yes.
And then that doesn't indicate that the party necessarily left, does it?
No, it doesn't.
They
It just
might-
indicates when the check was closed out by the server.
Now, in the top, as I face it, left-hand corner, you see cash.
Yes.
Does that mean that it was paid in cash?
No, it doesn't. It just means that the check was closed out.
brief 30 seconds, Your Honor, in order to make the print.
That's okay. We can proceed with the testimony. At some point, did you see Nicole and her party leave?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember about what time that was?
I would say somewhere between 8:30 and 9.
Just backing up for a minute. You see what's on the monitor now?
Yes.
Okay, this is People's 34. Can you tell us what that is?
It's a credit card receipt.
And is that, does that reflect payment of the amount that was indicated in that blue piece of paper that the NCR machine printed out for $179.95?
Yes.
And it's a gratuity was added on 34
Yes.
for a total of $213.95.
Yes.
Did you look at that piece of paper when you came into court today?
I did, yes.
Did it appear to you to be the original?
Yes, it was the original.
Can you move it up? Signature on the bottom appears to be Nicole Brown.
Yes.
Is it your habit and custom in the restaurant to have the customer write in the gratuity and then fill in the total
Yes.
and then sign?
Yes.
And it appears to have been done in this case as well.
Yes, it has.
Okay. Now, this shows a date of June the 12th
Yeah.
and a time of 7 p.m.
Yeah. 7:12.
7:12 p.m.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
No, that's not accurate either.
So neither your credit card machine nor the NCR that you punch the orders into has correct times in it.
That's right.
Is the date correct on your credit card machine?
The date is correct, yes.
The time is wrong.
The time's wrong.
Then this receipt, this credit card receipt reflects payment for the order shown in the previous document marked People's 33.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, after Nicole and her party left, did you happen to see Ron Goldman?
Yes, I did.
Were you familiar with the method of time stamping for to punch in and out the time card for the employees?
Yes.
And do you know where that time clock is kept?
Yes, I do.
Did you see him go in that direction at some point?
I didn't actually see him go punch out.
Did you see him go towards where he would have to go to punch out at the time clock?
Yes.
And does everybody have to punch in and out when they come to work and leave?
Yes.
Now, as manager, are you familiar with the method of computing the time cards? Do you have something to do with maintaining the hours?
Yes.
And what is that?
I would sign people out, and on Sundays I would add up everyone's time card for the week.
And did you do that on June the 12th as well?
Yes, I did.
Shortly after you saw Ron go to the area where the time clock is kept that evening, shortly after that, did you get a phone call?
Yes, I did.
Remember what time approximately that you got that phone call?
It's about 9:30, 9:35.
Mr. Escobar? This is another board run that's been shown to council. I'd ask that we mark pages 39, 35?
35.
35. It's entitled Judith Brown Phone Records, June the 12th, 1994.
Your Honor, in the interest of saving time, and since I don't think this witness is authentic to those phone records, for the purpose of this witness's testimony, we would stipulate that
the records are accurate and depict the time that the call came in to the restaurant.
All right, is that stipulation agreeable to the people?
Yes, that's.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I told you during the course of our instructions that what the attorneys say during the course of the trial is not evidence. However, in a situation where the attorneys stipulate and agree to a certain fact, you were to accept that as evidence in the case. All right. Ms. Clark.
Thank you. Do you recognize the phone number on the first line there where it says June the 12th, 9:37 p.m., West Los Angeles? And then there's a phone number, 310-447-8667.
Yes, I do.
And what phone number is that?
That's the phone number to Mezzaluna.
And the time that you received that call, the 9:37, does that seem to be accurate based on your memory?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. And just before you got that call, you saw Ron go back to where the time clock was kept.
Yes,
Did you recognize the voice of the person that you spoke to?
I did, yes.
And what was that? Who was that voice?
It was Mrs. Brown,
Nicole's mother?
yes.
And did she ask you to do something?
She did.
And what was that?
She asked me to look for a pair of glasses she had lost at the restaurant.
Okay. And what did you do?
I looked around the restaurant, and when I didn't find them out there, I remembered I had seen them coming in from outside, so I looked outside.
Okay. Now, did you put her on hold or did you call her back?
I put her on hold.
And did you find the glasses?
Yes, I did.
Where did you find them?
I found them in the street by the gutter.
And what did you do with them?
I brought them back in, and I spoke to Mrs. Brown and told her I found them. I put them in an envelope.
What kind of envelope did you put them in?
I put it in a white business-sized envelope.
Did you write anything on it?
Yes, I wrote Nicole Simpson, prescription glasses.
Did you seal it?
Yes.
Did you ask her, did you ask Mrs. Brown what she wanted done with those glasses?
Yes, I did.
What'd she tell you?
She told me that she could not pick them up, she lived too far away, and that she would have her daughter pick them up.
And was it after that point that you sealed up the glasses?
Yes.
Did you agree to hold them there for her?
Yes, I told her I would have them behind the bar in our lost and found area.
And where did you put the glasses inside the envelope that you sealed up?
I put them behind the bar.
Your Honor, I have here a Ziploc bag in which there is an envelope. I can see glasses inside the envelope. I'd ask that this envelope and its contents be marked as People's 36.
People's 36.
No, we would stipulate that this witness would identify this envelope and its contents as the glasses that she recovered that night and the envelope.
I wonder if we could do this at sidebar, Your Honor.
Hold on a second. Just so the record's clear, we did previously mark this in our discussions as People's 32.
Thank you, Your Honor, then
All right.
People's 32. May we approach?
Yes, with the report. All right, thank you, counsel. You may proceed. People's 32.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I approach? Ms. Crawford, showing you what has been marked as People's 32. Do you recognize the handwriting on the front of this envelope?
Yeah, that's my handwriting.
Do you recognize, is this the handwriting that you put on this envelope on the night of June the 12th, 1994?
Yes.
And it says prescription glasses, Nicole Simpson, will pick up Monday?
Yes.
Now, looking inside the envelope, can you see the glasses that are inside?
Yes.
Do you recognize those?
Yes.
How do you recognize them?
Well, they look like the glasses I picked up off the street.
And this is the envelope that you placed behind the bar?
Yes.
Now, after you had that conversation with Mrs. Brown, and you placed the envelope behind you at the bar, did you get another phone call?
Yes.
About how long after the first phone call did you get the second phone call?
About 5 minutes.
Would you estimate then about 9:45?
Yes.
Did you recognize the person who called you?
Yes, I did.
Who was that?
It was Nicole.
Nicole?
Yes.
And where were you in the restaurant when you got that call?
I was standing near the bar. Both of our phones are on the bar, so I was at either one end or the other.
And you had a conversation with Nicole?
Yes.
Was it concerning the glasses?
Yes.
Did she ask you to do something with respect to those glasses?
She told me... Well, can you repeat that?
Yeah. Did she ask you to do something with those glasses?
No, she asked if she could speak to Ron, but she didn't tell me what to do with the glasses.
Okay. Ron Goldman?
Yes.
And did you then speak to Ron Goldman?
Yes.
What did you do?
I went over to where he was sitting and I told him that he had a phone call.
Did he speak on the phone?
He did, yes.
Could you hear what he was saying?
No, I didn't hear exactly what he was saying, no.
But you could tell he was speaking?
Yes.
Now, when he came over to take the phone, was he still wearing his waiter's uniform?
No, he wasn't.
How did he look different?
He had taken his vest and his tie off.
Other than that, what was he wearing?
He was wearing black pants and white up on top.
White dress shirt?
Yeah.
So he was still wearing that much of the uniform?
Yes.
Now, after he spoke for a while on the phone, what did he do?
He hung around for a couple of minutes, and then he asked me to give him the glasses, and I did.
What has been marked as people's 30. White dress shirt. And what appears to be a black pair of dress pants. Do you recognize what we're showing you here?
Yes.
What is it?
It's Ron's shirt and pants. Yeah. No, okay.
After he hung up the phone, did Ron say something to you?
Yeah, he told me he was going to drop the glasses off at Nicole's.
Did he tell you he was on his way to somewhere?
He was on his way to meet a couple of guys from work at Baja Cantina.
And do you know where Baja Cantina is?
Yeah.
Where is it?
It's in Marina del Rey.
So did you give him the envelope with the glasses?
Yes.
Did you see him leave the restaurant at some point?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall about what time it was?
He left at about 10 minutes to 10.
Do you recall what exit he left through?
He left through the side exit that goes out onto Gorham.
Do you recall who was tending bar that night?
Stuart was tending bar.
Stuart Tanner?
Yes.
And you recall seeing Ron actually leave the restaurant at 10 minutes to 10?
Yeah, I saw him walk out the door.
And was that the last time you saw him?
Yes.
Your Honor, this is a time card I'd ask be marked Peoples 36.
All right, Peoples 36 time card.
You can see it on your monitor. Okay. Do you recognize what's being shown there?
Yes, it's a time card.
All right. And is that Ron Goldman's time card?
Yes.
And that's for the week ending June the 12th?
Yes.
Can you see Sunday, June the 12th indicated on that card?
Yes.
And it shows that he came in what time?
He came in at 4:30.
And that he clocked out at what time?
He clocked out at 9:33.
Then he was hanging around the restaurant for a while before he actually left when you saw him leave at about 9:50.
Yes.
Just going to show you one more picture.
At this moment?
As soon as they fix this.
All right.
Okay, Ms. Crawford, do you recognize what's being depicted in this photograph?
It's an envelope.
Does it appear to be the same envelope that you placed the glasses of Mrs. Brown in on the night of June the 12th and that you gave to Ron Goldman to take to Nicole?
It looks like it, yes.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Yes. And All right, thank you, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Clark, have you concluded your examination of Ms. Crawford?
Yes, Your Honor, I've concluded direct.
Mr. Shapiro?
Your Honor, I wonder if we're done with the exhibits, if we could just have Ms. Clark retrieve those. There are some
Yes.
photographs that I'm not going to need, and also the envelope that I will not need.
All right, why don't you retrieve that, Ms. Clark? Thank you.
Ms. Crawford?
Hi.
I have to ask you a few questions, and I will not ask you any questions that upset you. The documents that you were shown by Ms. Clark, specifically the check for dinner,
Yes.
when is the first time you've seen that?
When is the first time I've seen it?
Yes.
I believe today.
And where did you see it?
Where did I see it? I saw it here.
And the receipt for the payment of the bill, when is the first time you saw that?
Today.
And where did you see it?
Here.
And the time card, when is the first time you saw that?
I may have seen it earlier in the week of the week ending June 12th. I added them up on June 12th.
So that one you had seen before.
Yes.
In adding up that time card for Mr. Goldman, did you notice anything that was incorrect on the time card?
Well, I see where I had added it up in one section, and it had been re-added again.
Did you also see that on one date there was a time that there was a stamped in for work but no stamping out of work?
I don't remember noticing that.
You don't remember noticing that? May I borrow the exhibit for a moment, Your Honor? May I approach the witness?
You may. This is People's 36.
Was there an indication as to whether or not Wednesday was a working day?
Wednesday. Well, there's a stamp in, and I don't know exactly whether or not he worked that day. Maybe someone accidentally punched in on his time card and realized that it was not their card. That's a possibility. Maybe he punched in and they didn't need him and he just left and he didn't punch out. Maybe he was just there for a few minutes. I can't tell you for sure what that is. He may have worked and forgotten to punch out.
Do you have any personal knowledge that the times on that time punch machine were accurate on June the 12th?
Can you repeat that? Do I have personal knowledge of what?
When you put that card in, it goes into a machine. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that machine indicates a time. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you have any personal information as to whether or not that machine was accurately recording the times on June the 12th?
No.
When you got the phone call from Mrs. Judith Brown, had you ever talked to her on the phone before?
I don't believe I'd ever talked to her on the phone, no.
And Nicole Brown Simpson, had you ever talked to her on the phone before?
I don't remember if I had or not, no.
You say she was a regular at the restaurant.
Yes.
How often would she come in?
Well, in the course of a year, I'd seen her about 4 times. And I would consider that to be regular. I'd heard of other times she had been in on nights that I hadn't worked.
On this particular night when you were the manager, did you see her greet Ron Goldman when she and her party arrived at the Mezzaluna restaurant?
Yes.
And how did she greet him?
I just think she said hello. And I'm not sure exactly what she did.
Did they hug?
They may have.
Did they kiss?
I don't think so, no.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure.
When you went to get Ron Goldman, that was at the request of Nicole.
Yes.
And where was Ron when you went to get him?
He was sitting at the first table by the front door.
And what was he doing?
He was sitting talking to the two other managers,
Who are they?
John and Richard.
Did you previously testify that they were all having dinner together?
I don't think so. John and Richard were having dinner.
You indicated they were having dinner and Mr. Goldman was with them?
Yeah, I think he went over there just for a couple of minutes to hang out.
Did you see Mr. Goldman eat at all that evening?
No, I didn't.
May I just have one moment, Your Honor? Transcript of previous testimony by Karen Lee Crawford, cross-examination by myself. It's page 12. However, again, I have underlined it. I wonder if the district attorney would object to me showing this or would like another copy to be shown to the witness. No. May I approach the witness, Your Honor? Thank you very much. Ms. Crawford, would you just take a moment to review your testimony previously given? And I want to direct you to line 22 through line 28, please.
Yes?
Do you recall being asked the following questions by me?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, let me give you the questions, okay?
Well, objection, the witness is being asked to refresh her memory. Counsel doesn't need to read the record. She just refreshed her memory, and now she can testify to what counsel wants.
Overruled. Mr. Shapiro.
Yes, were you asked the following question? When you went to call Ron Goldman to the phone, where was he? Answer, he was sitting at table 101, which is the very first table to the left of the front entrance. Question, who was he with, if anyone? Answer, he was sitting with John and Richard. John DeBello, the manager, and Richard Arbolino. Question, what were they doing? Answer, they were having dinner. Do you recall being asked those questions and giving those answers?
Yes.
Ms. Clark? Redirect.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Crawford, is yourself and the waiters, are they all paid by the hour?
Yes.
So the hours that you're paid for are measured by the time clock,
Yes.
the one you punch in and out of.
Yes.
And so minutes would be very important
Yes.
to be accurate on that, would they not?
That's right.
So is there an effort made to make sure that that time clock remains accurate for the purpose of measuring what everyone gets paid?
Yes.
To the best of your knowledge, was that time clock accurate on the night of June the 12th?
Yes.
And were you able to see if Mr. Goldman was eating anything that night when you saw him sitting with Mr. DeBello and the other gentleman?
No, John and Richard were having dinner, but Ron wasn't.
Did you notice whether Ron was drinking anything?
I don't remember.
Did you know him to drink mineral water at the Mezzaluna frequently?
Yes.
Was that his pretty much drink of choice?
That was his drink of choice.
What was your understanding of the nature of the relationship between Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown?
My understanding of it was that it was very casual at most.
In other words, did you ever come to the understanding that they were lovers?
No.
Just knew each other?
Yes.
Do you recall whether or not do you have any present recollection as to whether or not they hugged each other when they saw each other that night?
No.
Do you have any present recollection as to whether they exchanged a kiss on the cheek that night?
No, I wasn't paying attention to that.
Oh, one more thing. With respect to this time card, do you recognize any of the handwriting at the bottom of that card?
Yes.
And what is it you recognize?
I see my handwriting and someone else's handwriting.
Where's your handwriting?
My handwriting is in the bottom left. And
The bottom
the
left
bottom
as we
right.
face it, or the bottom?
It's at the bottom of the time card on the left side.
What number is that?
It's crossed out. And then there's a corrected number on the right-hand side on the bottom, 2650.
Is that your handwriting?
Yes.
Because you totaled that card.
Yes.
I have nothing further.
Any recross, Mr. Shapiro?
Just very, very briefly, did you ever
Personally ask Nicole Brown Simpson what her relationship was with Ronald Goldman?
No.
Did you ever ask Ronald Goldman what his relationship was with Nicole Brown Simpson?
No.
Thank you. Nothing further.
All right, Ms. Crawford, just one quick question. You testified that Tia was the server reflected on the credit card receipt or on the dinner receipt. Was that Tia Gavin?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Crawford, I'm going to excuse you from further attendance today. I'm going to direct you not to discuss your testimony with anybody other than the lawyers in the case until the case is over. All right, thank you very much for coming in.
If you don't mind, before we excuse her, may I confer with counsel briefly?
Certainly, don't go away. Ms. Clark.
Briefly identify and authenticate this exhibit that is shown to counsel. And that's if you mark People's Next Order, People's 37.
All right, People's 37 chart reflecting,
This is the time by Ronald Goldman.
all right?
Showing you People's 37, Ms. Crawford. Do you recognize what we're showing here?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And if I might ask you one additional question.
Yes.
Do you see these initials here, KC?
Yes.
Are those yours?
Those are mine.
You put those on there?
Yes.
Thank you, Robin.
Any questions as to the initials?
No, thank you very much, Ms. Crawford. You've been excused.
All right, Ms. Crawford, thank you very much. Next witness.
Thank you. If you'd like to recall Tia Gavin briefly.
All right. Yes. Would you approach the witness stand again, please? All right, Ms. Gavin, we released you as a witness, so I have to have you resworn.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please have a seat. Your witness stand. Please state your first and last name for the record.
Tia, T-I-A, Gavin, G-A-V-I-N.
Ms. Clark.
Thank you, Your Honor. Showing you what has been marked as People's 33. Do you recognize what I'm showing you?
It's a check from our restaurant.
Okay. And remember we talked about the NCR, or did we talk to you about that?
Yes.
Okay. And is that a machine where you said you punched in the order and
Yeah.
then it would total up?
Yes.
And do you recognize that particular one?
It looks like it would be right for that table, for the Browns table. I mean, I don't remember ever having seen the check since that evening, so I mean, I wouldn't remember exactly, but it certainly looks very appropriate for 10 people, and it's got the bottle of Gatnar on it that I mentioned before. And so it looks right.
So that appears to be the piece of paper that NCR prints out for the night of June the 12th when you served Nicole Brown and her party.
Yes. Oh, and it's the right table number as well. I just noticed. Yes.
So you're sure that's the one?
Yeah.
Do you see your name on it too,
Yes.
indicating that you were the server?
Yes.
And so does that accurately indicate the food that was served to that party?
It would. Yes.
You just told us that the number of people in the party numbered 10.
Yes.
But it shows there that the number of guests was 9. Can you explain to us why?
Often when we wait on children, since they don't order full orders of food, we'll count 2 little children as 1 adult.
Now, have I ever shown you this piece of paper before?
No.
Have we ever discussed this piece of paper before?
No.
Right now is the first time.
Yes.
By the way, do you happen to know whether or not the time and date stamp by that NCR machine on that piece of paper is accurate or not?
It says June 13th, 94, 7:04 a.m. So it couldn't be correct if it says a.m.
And the date that you
And-
served Nicole Brown and her party, the only time you ever served them, that was June the 12th, wasn't it?
That's correct.
So both the date and the time are wrong on that.
Yes.
Now, when you close out the bill, in other words, when you total it up,
Mm-hmm.
does it stamp again?
Yes.
Can you turn it over?
Mm-hmm.
You see at the top of that bill?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to put it on the monitor so I can follow along what you're saying. If you don't mind. You'll be able to see it on the monitor right by you. Okay. See at the top of that document where it says June 13th, 8:18 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay, and you indicated before that's not accurate. You did not complete serving them dinner at 8:18 a.m.?
No.
Okay. But that time indicates to you that that's when you rang up the total?
Up here where it says cash at the very top,
Right.
I believe that would be the time that the check was cashed out, which would be after it would be paid, if the time were correct. But that when the time prints up there, if the time were correct, it would be printing up the time that I was cashing out the bill, which would mean that the bill was paid and that they had presumably left.
Now, they may not have left right
No,
away.
or they just paid their bill and I had closed it out.
Now, the fact that you have cash up there, does that mean that they paid you in cash?
No, we close out all the checks to cash.
Now, I'm showing you what's been marked as People's 34. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do. It's a credit card receipt from our restaurant.
See the amount of $179.95?
Yes?
That was the same amount on People's 33 that you just saw?
Yes, it was.
So does this reflect the method of actual payment for the bill by Nicole Brown?
Yes, it would.
And what was the method of payment?
Credit card and American Express.
And the signature appears to be that of Nicole Brown?
It says Nicole Brown, yes.
Okay. Is it your habit and custom to give this receipt to the customer, have them fill in the gratuity, and total it, and then sign it?
Yes.
See the timestamp there? 7:12 p.m.?
Yes.
Is that in fact when Nicole and her party left or paid?
No, they couldn't have. They arrived at 6:45-ish, so
So this time is also inaccurate.
yes.
Now, you earlier indicated, with respect to your time card, been marked previously as People's 26, 36? Her time card? No, that's wrong. 28? Thanks, Steve. Push it up Sunday? You indicated that is this your time card, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. You indicated earlier that you clocked in on Sunday, June the 12th at 5:02 and clocked out at 9:58. Is that time clock accurate?
Yes, it is.
And those times reflected on your time card are accurate?
Yes, and yeah, we came in at 4:30. I mean, the waiters were staggered. You're scheduled at 4:35 and 5:30. So, besides the fact that this is the way my memory is, that's the way we were scheduled to
And so
arrive.
you know that it's accurate?
Yes, because I was scheduled to arrive then. So,
Thank you very much. I'd ask at this time, Your Honor, if I may substitute this original time card for the Xerox copy I'd previously used. I've been given permission. Ms. Luna will release these for a court exhibit.
All right. So ordered. Thank you, counsel.
I'm
Do
nothing
anything further from Ms. Gavin?
Nothing further.
Mr. Shapiro?
No, thank you, Ms. Gavin, please. Mrs. Gavin.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Gavin. All right, let's take a brief 15-minute court reporter recess. We'll resume at 3:30. All right.
With regard to the next witness, we'd like an offer of proof, and if that witness is present, I'd like the witness to step out. And then I want to have an argument with the witness, if I may.
All right, can you have your witness step outside, please? All right, Ms. Clark, who is your next witness?
My next witness, Your Honor, is Kim Goldman. She will testify that she found the uniform that has been marked as People's 30 in Ron Goldman's apartment hanging over a door inside his apartment on June the 15th when she went to collect his things.
And that's the items that have previously been marked as, was it 31?
I thought it was
The
30.
bag?
Not
I'm sorry.
30?
Number 30. Mr. Cochran?
Right here?
Certainly.
With regard to this item, Your Honor, the court will recall, we approached the bench before, it seems that Ms. Clark would like to show the clothes to every witness who comes in. this is not a particular moment in this case in the final analysis, we're willing to stipulate. Ms. Goldman would stipulate as to where she found the particular clothing and save some time. Each witness to be shown the pants and the clothes that he was not wearing later on that evening, and I think that it's a 352 problem after a period of time, and I just wanted to try and save some time in that regard. If it might be more persuasive to have called Ms. Goldman had she not seen fit to show these clothes to Ms. Crawford, and then to show them to another person before that. So it'll be 3 times a day we've seen a white shirt and some black pants. And I think we do reach the point where there's no chain of custody and no argument on this particular point. So why then would they continue showing them? I could speculate, but I don't think I need to do that. And I would ask the court to either accept that stipulation so we can move on.
People?
Yes, Your Honor, what Mr. Cochran wants to do is stipulate away to anything that might personalize the case and make an indication that there is a real person, human being associated with the name Ron Goldman.
That
But
aspect so much, Ms. Clark. What is the probative value of this proffer?
yeah, first of all, let me indicate to the court, I'm not going to take the clothing out of the bag. The witness brought the bag in. She can tell us what the contents are and where she found them, but the offer of proof is to indicate that he did go home and change clothes, that these clothes were found out loose, that he changed in a hurry, and they were found hanging off a door because he was found in other clothing at the crime scene.
Is that relevant to some timing issue?
Yes?
How
It's-
so?
Because he left the restaurant at 10 of 10, and it is the people's contention that the murders occurred roughly around 10:15 to 10:20. It will indicate that there was not a large amount of time spent in his apartment before he departed for Bundy. So it goes to the amount of time and the manner in which the clothing was found. Clothing found in disarray as opposed to neatly placed in a hamper, this kind of thing would indicate,
Neatly placed in a hamper?
well, put away. The clothing was left draped over a door, which indicates that it was done hurriedly.
All right, Mr. Cochran?
That is the rankest form of speculation. If they'd done their job in investigating this case, they would have perhaps determined whether or not Mr. Goldman had taken time to take a shower or whatever. They can't speculate and tell whether that happened. We know that he changed clothes, and that's the relevant thing. It's only now we find out that it's not going to be taken out of the bag. It would have been better if she hadn't taken out of the bag those other 2 times. She'd have sounder ground to stand on. So the proffer is, all I'm saying, Your Honor, is that we're willing to stipulate where they were found and to move on. Everything else is speculative. And now we find the change of the time of death is starting to move backwards. When they had the opening statement, it was 10:15. Now it's 10:15 or 10:20. Before we finish, it's going to be 11 o'clock. And that's where we're going. And so it seems to me this is all speculation. We should try this case based upon the evidence, without the prosecution whining and moaning. Let's just get it over with. And without taking things out of bags with every witness. Let's just try this case and stop, engaging in tricks and legerdemain.
Your Honor, I really
Oh,
resent these issues.
well,
And
Ms.
we're
Clark,
not- we're
Ms.
not
Clark,
the ones
hold on,
whining. That's
hold
why
on.
we're stopped here, is
Ms.
because
Clark?
counsel's not whining.
All right, Ms. Clark?
Your
Ms. Clark,
Honor,
please.
so close.
Please. Thank you. Maybe that objection was better suited to the last 2 witnesses rather than this witness. But if this is the witness who found it, and the manner in which he found it, and timing is an issue, it is relevant, it does have probative value, but I take it this is very short.
Very short.
All right.
Not on the bag, Your Honor, she had representation.
That's a representation I have.
Right.
Let's proceed. Objections overruled.
Let me indicate for the record, Your Honor, that if I didn't take the clothing out of the bag for the other witnesses to see, they couldn't testify to whether he wore those clothes that night. It was
Well,
shown when he was
all
wearing-
they can say is he wore something like that. Black pants and a white shirt. This is more interesting now. All right, let's have the witness, Deputy Browning. Let's have the jury, Deputy McNamara. May call the next witness.
People call Ms. Kim Goldman.
Raise your right hand, please. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, I do. Please have a seat in the witness stand and state your son, your first and last name for the record.
Kimberly Goldman, Kimberly Goldman.
Thank you.
Ms. Clark.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Goldman, are you the sister of Ron Goldman?
Yes, I am.
Did you visit his apartment on Gorham shortly after June the 12th?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell us when?
The first time was on, I believe, Wednesday, January 15th, day before his funeral.
June 15th,
June 15th,
1994?
correct.
And why did you go?
I needed to get a suit for his funeral.
Did you recover some clothing that you brought to court today?
Yes, I did.
And I'm showing you the bag in which we have previously marked as People's 30, the white shirt and the black pants. Do you
Yes, that's
recognize
correct.
those?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell us where you found them?
They were draped over his bedroom door, the shirt and the pants.
Just draped over?
Obviously he'd taken them off and just swung them over the door.
Okay, not on hangers.
No, my father and I put them on the hangers.
Did you see any other white dress shirt or black pants like that
No,
in
I
the
did not.
apartment? Only those?
Only those.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Mr. Cochran. All right. Ms. Goldman, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
excused. Next witness.
People call Mr. Pablo Fendes.
Raise your right hand, please. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please have a seat in the witness stand and state and spell your first and last name for the record.
My name is Pablo Fenves, that's Pablofenves.
All right, Mr. Fenves, if you would, I'm sorry. There we go. Thank you. Ms. Clark.
Thank you. Mr. Fenves, directing your attention to the date of June the 12th, 1994. As of that date, can you tell us approximately where you lived?
I lived,
And where is that in relationship to 875 South Bundy?
we share a common back alley, and I'm about 60 or 70 yards north.
Let me get you to speak into the microphone.
Thank you. We share a common back alley, and I'm about 60 or 70 yards north of the condo that Nicole Simpson ran.
Can you look at your monitor, sir? Thank you. Can you indicate to us on this photograph where your house would be?
It would be approximately where the police patrol car is parked, just to the left of that.
So just to the left as you face it?
Right,
All
just
right.
to our left.
Okay. And then would 875 South Bundy be this area here that I'm circling, if you can see?
Yes, it appears to me that there's a vehicle parked in the drive of 875.
Okay, thank you. And this is, should mark this photograph as People's next in order. People's 38? 38? People's 38.
All right, People's 38.
Now, what portion of your apartment faces that alley?
It's a three-story building, and the top floor is the master bedroom, which faces the alley. Then there's a kitchen, and then below that, I have my office, and that's pretty well sealed off, and you can't see out into the alley.
If you look out your master bedroom, are you able to see the back of 875 South Bundy?
I'm able to see the what seems to be a porch area and a row of windows along the top floor, but that's about all I can see.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your last answer, sir?
I can see a sort of balcony area with a row of windows across what seems to be the top floor, or a stairwell leading to the top floor.
So your view is limited.
Yes, it is.
Can I get you to keep your voice up?
Yes, it is.
Showing you the map of the Bundy area that's previously marked as Peoples 26. Can you point out the place where your home is shown?
I think if this is the alley here, this would be my home right here.
Did everybody hear that answer? The jury?
Can you try to say that
Yes.
again?
This is, if this being the alley here, this is my home over here.
And can you show us where 875 South Bundy would be?
I imagine this would be 875 South Bundy.
That red square.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Did you know Nicole Brown, sir?
No, I did not.
Had you seen her before?
Just in the neighborhood, we had a similar jogging route, and I'd seen her in her car pulling into the alley once or twice. That was about it.
Did you did you know where she lived back in June of 1994?
No, I didn't know where she lived, and I didn't know who she was.
On June the 12th of 1994, sir, in the evening, where were you?
At 10 o'clock that evening, I was watching the news in the master bedroom on the third floor with my wife.
Okay, and that's the master bedroom that
Faces.
faces the alley that you share with 875 South Bundy?
That is correct.
You were watching the 10 o'clock news with your wife.
Yes.
And for how long did you watch the news?
Well, about 15 or 20 minutes into it, I became aware of a barking sound, and then I probably stopped watching the news shortly thereafter.
So it was approximately 15 minutes after the news began that you started to hear a dog barking?
Yes.
That misstates what you said.
Is that bark?
20 minutes.
Tell us.
15 or 20 minutes into it, I heard a very distinctive barking coming from somewhere to the south of where I live. And I was aware of it for maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes, and at that point I stopped watching the news and I left the master bedroom.
Was there something unusual about that dog barking that drew your attention to it?
It was it was fairly persistent. It was at a significant pitch, and as you may recall, I described it at the time as a plaintive wail. It sounded like a, very unhappy animal.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, sir.
It sounded like a very unhappy animal.
And that's what drew your attention?
Yes, it did.
Had you ever heard dogs barking in the neighborhood before?
Yeah, there's plenty of dogs barking in the neighborhood, but this was, as I said, persistent and unusual and unhappy.
So did you stay and listen to the barking for a while before you went downstairs?
No, I don't recall whether I went and looked. I believe I may have gotten up and looked through the shutters, and then I went downstairs to my office.
About what time was it when you went downstairs to your office?
I'd say around 10:20.
And by that time, you'd heard the dog barking for how long?
As I said, it could have been 5 minutes, it could have been 7, 8 minutes.
When you went downstairs to your office, was the dog still barking?
I don't recall at that point. I was going down the inner stairwell and I wasn't aware of it. And when I eventually got to my office is pretty soundproof. And I started working and I was focused on what I was doing. So whether the dog was barking or not, I can't tell you.
At the time that you first heard the dog barking, could you tell from what direction it seemed to be coming?
Yes, it seemed to be coming from basically the area south corner of Dorothy and Bundy.
From this area?
Yes, from that area.
Did you stay...
I'm not objecting to the form of that question. This picture, because the picture here was not marked or anything, is from this area.
The objection is foundation.
No foundation.
Thank you.
Do you
Sustained.
Sorry. Sir, do you recognize what's depicted in this photograph?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
That is Nicole's house.
From the rear view?
Yes, from the alley view.
And is that where the barking seemed to be coming from, this area?
Objection, that's leading suggestion. Witness says
Sustained.
Dorothy and Bundy.
Where did the barking seem to be coming from?
It seemed to be coming from the general area of Dorothy and Bundy, and this particular unit was very much in the line of my view.
So that when you went out, well, strike that. You stayed down in your office for how long?
35 minutes, 40 minutes. I came back upstairs at 11 o'clock.
And when you came back upstairs at 11 o'clock, was the barking still audible?
Yes, it was.
Where did you go when you came upstairs at 11 o'clock?
I got in bed.
And when you got in bed, was the dog still barking?
Yes, he was.
What did you do at that point?
I was reading for a little while. I mentioned to my wife that I was concerned about the dog. Our own dog was on the bed, and he was reacting to the barking by growling a little bit. And I think I went back and took another look through the shutters, and I noticed the line of windows at the residence, and there was a light on. And I assumed that somebody was home, and there were a lot of units, as you can see from the map, that were closer to the sound. So I thought somebody may have already done something about it.
So you felt that there might have been something wrong, but someone else may have reported it already?
It was hard to interpret what was going on. The dog didn't sound as if it was in pain or anything like that. It just sounded, as I said, unhappy.
And when you got up to go to the shutters in your master bedroom, you went to look in the direction of where the barking seemed to be coming from?
Yes, that is correct.
And where did you look?
I looked directly toward the condominium in question, and I noticed the row of lights, as I mentioned, and then I went back to bed.
So, and when you say the condominium in question, is that the one depicted in this photograph, which I'd ask be marked Peoples 39?
Yes, that is correct.
And when you went to look in that direction, you were looking there because it was where the dog barking seemed to be coming from?
Sustained. Leading.
Why did you look in that direction?
I looked in that direction because that's where the barking sound was coming from.
Did you go to sleep immediately at 11 o'clock?
No, I read for a while, and I can't tell you how long I read, but obviously sometime before, within the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I fell asleep.
When you fell asleep, could you still hear the dog barking?
I think I may have heard it sporadically, but I was basically trying to focus on what I was reading, and I can't answer that question.
Do you recall hearing it still barking while you were reading?
Yes, for a portion of the time I did hear it initially.
When you first heard the dog barking, after a few minutes, you said you went downstairs?
Yes, that's correct.
And when you came back upstairs, you could still hear it barking?
Yes, but of course, there was that period of, 30 to 40 minutes when I was away from the master bedroom, and I can't tell you whether it was barking continually.
Because you were in that office that's pretty soundproof, right?
That's correct.
When you came back up, though, and you heard the barking, did it sound like the same dog?
Yes, it was definitely the same dog.
And when you went into your bedroom and got into bed at about 11 o'clock and you could still hear the barking, was that still the same dog?
Yes, it was.
And it was one dog barking?
It was one dog barking distinctively, and if there were other dogs barking, I certainly didn't hear them.
Thank you.
Mr. Cochran?
Thank you, Rick.
Good afternoon, Mr. Fenves.
That's it.
Directing your attention back to the date of June 12th, 1994, in the evening hours. That was a Sunday evening, was it not, sir?
That is correct, sir.
And you were at home at your residence on Gretna Green, is that correct?
That is correct.
And as I understand your testimony, the 800 block of Gretna Green, you have a vantage point where if you look down this alley, south down the alley, you see the northernmost portion of the residence there on Bundy. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, at the time, on June 12, 1994, you did not know who lived at this particular residence.
No, I did not.
And on that particular evening, so you didn't know it was Nicole Brown Simpson or anyone else at that point, did you?
No, I did not.
All right. And on that evening, as I understand your testimony, you were watching what you believe to be the Channel 5 news at 10 o'clock. Is that right?
That is right.
And you had occasion, did you not, to speak with some members of the Los Angeles Police Department, to wit, Officers Tippin, Tippin, and Carr, Carr, along with your wife, whose name is it Jay or Jai?
Jay.
Jay Fenves, about 9:10 in the morning on June 13th. Is that correct?
That is also correct.
And when you first talked to these police officers, the events from the night before were fairly fresh in your mind. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And of course, in addressing and talking to the police officers, you told them the truth about everything as best you knew, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's true, is it not, that you told the police officers that it was at about between 10:15 and 10:30 p.m. that you and your wife heard a dog barking uncontrollably to the rear of your residence? Is that the way you phrased it to the police officers?
No, first of all, I do not remember telling them 10:15 to 10:30. I remember telling them 10:15 to 10:20.
All right, let me stop you right there. Let me, you and I'd like to approach him with a statement form and have him take a look at it. And I want to have him read something. Counsel, this is page 10036.
All right, you may approach.
Thank you, Art. I want to ask you, first of all, to read a portion to yourself. And I want to ask you some questions about it. Have you read that, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. I may be allowed to ask a couple of questions from here, Your Honor. So if there's an indication that you indicated to the police that you and your wife had lived at this location at 862 Gretna Green Way for about 2 years, would that be accurate?
Yes, that is accurate.
Would it be accurate that last night, that is June 12, 1994,
What is the purpose of this? Is there impeachment being offered? I'm not going to offer a proof sidebar.
Oral. Oral.
last night, June 12, 1994, witness and his wife were watching the Channel 5 news at 10 o'clock p.m. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
At approximately 10:15 to 10:30 p.m., witnesses heard a dog barking uncontrollably to the rear of their residence. Do you recall so indicating to the police?
I recall actually pointing to the police the specific location that I heard the barking sound coming from.
Now, let me get back to my question. Okay, my question is, do you recall so indicating to the police that at about 10:15 to 10:30, witnesses, you and your wife, heard a dog barking uncontrollably to the rear of their residence? You so indicate that to the police, sir?
No, sir. As I told you, I told them that I heard the dog barking between 10:15 and 10:20.
All right, so if they have that wrong, they're wrong, is that right?
That is possible because I did not say that.
Okay. Did you then tell the police, sir, that you went outside on your rear porch to look?
No, sir, I did not tell them that either.
You didn't tell the police that either?
No, sir.
That you looked to the south toward Nicole Simpson's residence. Is that correct?
That is correct. I did that from the master bedroom.
All right. Did you go out on the porch and do that?
No, I did not, sir.
All right. Do you have a porch that looks south?
I have a porch, and basically I just popped open the plantation shutters and looked out, and...
Can you listen to the question? Do you have a porch?
Yes, sir, I do have a porch.
Did you ever, on June 12th, in the late evening hours, go out on the porch and look south down that alleyway?
No, sir.
May I ask that counsel be instructed to go back to counsel table?
Well, I'm still not finished with the report.
Is there any other?
Yes, there is. So,
Well, why doesn't he leave the report with the witness?
No, let's,
gee, on this cross-examination, may I proceed?
you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, so in answer to the question, you never went out on this porch, actually, is that right, sir?
No, sir, I do not recall going out on the porch.
And also, at that time, at June 13th, 1994, in the early morning hours, you didn't know whose residence this was down there, did you?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you ever tell the police that he observed a Jeep parked in the driveway but saw no suspects, vehicles, or activity? Tell the police that?
I think there was a little bit of misunderstanding, and if I can clarify that.
Okay,
No, I did not tell the police that.
That's the question.
Objection, Your Honor, the witness is allowed to explain.
Hold on. He will. Mr. Cochran, I don't see there any need for you to be there at this
Okay,
point.
just one more minute, Your Honor, I'll be on my way.
All right. Well,
Okay.
do you need to show him something that's there?
Yes, I do.
All
I'd
right.
like for him, now, moving on. I'd like for you to read from this point to the end, to yourself. Okay? Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Read that now? Yes, okay. Thank you, ma'am. Turn over there.
Yes, please, thank you.
Now, Mr. Fenves, sir, you never told the police that you observed a Jeep parked in the driveway but saw no suspects, vehicles, activity. You never told them that? Or did you tell them that?
A variation on that theme may have,
Variation on the theme?
yes.
Okay, well, let's see. See if we can figure out what part you told them. You tell them-
If I could be allowed to explain it.
You will be, you will be.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out whether or not the report is accurate first, and you can explain, sir, okay? Did you, when you looked through your shutters, see a Jeep parked in the driveway that night?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did you see any suspects when you looked through your shutters that night?
No, I did not.
Did you see any vehicles when you looked through your shutters that night?
No, I did not.
Did you see any activity when you looked through your shutters that night?
Nothing at all unusual.
And then you also told the officers, did you not, that neither you nor your wife knew who lived in the house at that point. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
And you told the officers, did you not, that the dog continued to bark until you went to bed at approximately 11:30? Is that accurate?
I actually went to bed at 11. I may have gone to sleep by 11:30, but I did tell them that I heard the dog after I had returned to bed.
All right, so that's fairly accurate, 11:30?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Now, let's back up. You wanted to explain to us that you told the officers something that it was obviously not correct in the statement that I read you. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Did you tell them at some point, sir, that you'd seen a Jeep at that location on other occasions? A few days before?
I may have said that I'd seen a Jeep there, but I don't recall that.
All right, you don't recall that at all? All right. And the Jeep, if you saw that Jeep there, what color was it?
The Jeep in question was a green Jeep.
Dark green?
Yes, sir.
All right, and had you
I
seen...
believe it was green.
Okay, your best recollection.
Right.
Okay, and this dark green Jeep, had you seen that at times before June 12th, 1994?
I believe I may have seen that same Jeep in the alley.
Now, with regard to the timing of the evening this happened, you and your wife disagree as to the time that you first heard this barking, don't you?
Do we?
Yeah, do you? I'm asking you.
Not to my recollection.
And she was present during this interview that you had with the police on June 13th, is that correct? Next morning?
Well, she was present for part of it, but they basically focused their attention on me, and she went about some other business she had to take care of.
But she also talked to them also during that interview, did she not?
Very briefly, I believe she did, yes.
Now, sir, after a period of time, whether it was 10, 20, or whatever time, about 5 to 7 minutes after you first heard the barking, you then left from your bedroom area, and that's when you went downstairs to your office area. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And as I understand your testimony, during this period of time, your office is fairly secure,
Yes, sir.
and so you couldn't hear what was going on at that point. Is that a fair statement?
That is correct.
And as I understand further, so that if it's now close to 10:30, you stayed in your office for maybe a half hour thereabouts?
That is correct.
And so then it would be approximately 11 o'clock when you returned back upstairs to the bedroom area. Is that correct?
It was 11 o'clock.
It was 11 o'clock. And now with regard to, you were downstairs in your office somewhere around a half hour?
30 to 40 minutes.
Okay. And your wife, do you know, where was she when you left to go down to your office?
I believe she was, I believe she stayed in the master bedroom.
Okay.
I don't know whether she closed the balcony doors. I have no idea.
Okay. The question now relates to where she was when you left. She was in the master bedroom?
Yes, sir.
And did you ever see her during this 30 to 40 minute period downstairs in your office?
No, sir.
When you returned back upstairs to your office, was she still in the master bedroom?
Yes, she was.
All right. Was she still in the same general area where you had left her?
Yes, whatever she had been watching was just ending, so that's how I knew it was 11 o'clock.
So whatever was on television, was it Dynasty reunion or?
Yes, I think that's what it was, actually.
Dynasty reunion.
Yes,
And it was just about going off at about 11 o'clock, is that right?
that is correct.
When you came back up. All right. And you, as I understand your testimony, when you came back upstairs and now it's 11 o'clock, you know that because Dynasty reunion was going off, this dog was continuing to bark, is that correct?
That is correct.
You could now hear it again at any rate.
Yes, sir.
Had you ever, on nights before June 12th, 1994, heard that dog bark, so you could identify that particular bark?
No, you know, sir, not in that way. I mean, not in a way that would call attention to itself.
Okay, there are a lot of people who walk dogs in that area, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir, including myself.
Including you walk dogs.
That's right.
And you indicated in your direct examination you felt this dog, and this sounded like an unhappy dog, as you described it.
That is correct.
And you had not heard this unhappy dog sound before, right?
That is correct.
In that particular area.
Yes, sir.
That night, as you listened, especially either before you went downstairs to your office or when you came back up, did you hear other dogs barking who sound less unhappy?
Not that I can recall. I mean, certainly nothing that made me sit up and take note.
All right. So, with regard to when you looked out of your shutters, was that before you went down to the office or after you came back up?
I believe I looked out of my shutters both times.
All right, so you think you may have looked out twice?
Yes, sir.
You never went out on the porch, but you looked out of the shutters.
That is correct.
And so that you can help the court and jury, sir, when you looked out of this shutter, these shutters are in your bedroom, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You're looking in a southerly direction, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you've described for this court and jury that as you looked in the southerly direction and your belief that this sound of the unhappy dog was coming from near the area of Bundy and Dorothy, right?
That is correct.
And can you tell us the residence that you saw on the screen there, how far is that residence from the corner? How many houses is that from the corner?
I believe there's probably two houses between that, well, there's actually one lot between that residence and the corner. That's
Right.
it.
One lot, two houses?
No, one lot, one house, I believe.
Okay, so one lot and one house.
No, just one house
just
on
one
one
house.
lot.
All right, you sure about that?
I'm not positive, and obviously there's the unit that is part of the same condominium building. That was the unit next to the one that Nicole Brown Simpson lived in.
But at any rate, so that we're clear, the unit that you came to learn was Nicole Brown Simpson's unit was not on the corner of Bundy and Dorothy.
No, it was not on the corner.
There was at least one unit south of that particular residence. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is right.
And so that we're clear, how far north did you live, your estimation, did you live at that point, north of the corner of Bundy and Dorothy, in yards or feet, sir?
I'd guess 150 yards,
150 yards?
maybe 125 yards.
All right, and having in mind a football field, it would be about 25 yards over and above what would be a regular football field, right?
Right.
And with regard to that unit that you were shown by Ms. Clark, the lighting that you saw, maybe we have that photograph put back up, I'm not sure. The number, I'm not sure this has the number out of here. I think it's 39. With regard to that particular unit, the lighting that you see on 39 now, the lighting didn't look like that night, did it, sir?
No, it did not look like that.
Okay, now I want you to be as accurate as you can. As you look down that alley, we understand you're looking from the north toward the south. Looking from the north to the south. Describe for the court and jury.
Objection, that's incorrect. Not
You're looking
north, south.
Well, let me see if I can understand. You're at north looking toward the south, right?
That's right.
And what I'm asking you to do now is to, four things, describe for us the lighting that night with regard to that building.
Well, with regard to this photograph, I cannot see the windows. They're not included in this photograph, but on the left side of this building,
Yes, sir.
moving toward Bundy, on the top floor, there's a row of windows.
Okay, you can't see what I'm doing. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
You're talking about on the left side or the north side of the building, there's some windows?
Right. That's exactly
Okay.
right.
You couldn't see this portion?
I could not see this
So in
portion.
other words, what's depicted here is not what you could see at all, is that right?
That is correct.
Gee, okay, so you could see the north side of that
Objection,
building.
counsel's editorializing.
Why did you say G?
G,
G, okay, it's strike G.
gosh.
Okay, thank you.
Stop it.
Okay, oh, yes, Your Honor. Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Now, with regard to this then, sir, you could see the north side of the building, as I'm indicating there. Is that right? Look at this photo, the left side?
That's right.
Okay, and tell us and describe for the court and jury what you could see with regard to that left side, any windows or anything.
There are maybe 3 or 4 windows up there that don't appear to open. I can't tell whether there's any rooms up there. It seems to me it may be some kind of stairwell leading to a deck. That's about all I can tell you.
And you've never been in there at that time, is that correct?
I beg your pardon?
You've never been in that place at that time,
In that
that particular unit?
yes, I have actually. I was there when
At
it was
that
on the
time.
market,
Well, you had been there at the time? And this was before June 12th?
long before, 2 years ago.
So in 1992?
Right.
Okay. And these windows that you believe where you saw these lights, do you recall seeing those when you were in there in 1992?
And no, sir, I do not.
All right. So you just saw some lighting coming from the windows. Is that what you saw?
That is correct.
And did you see anything else with regard to that side of the building or anything else relating to that particular building at that time?
No, as I think I mentioned, there seems to be some deck area up there and an awning,
All right.
an umbrella that had not been unfurled.
Anything else that you recall seeing at that time?
That's all I can tell you.
All right. How long did you look out of the shutter window on each occasion, if there were 2 occasions, sir?
Oh, 10, 15 seconds.
Very short, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And ultimately, then, you went to bed and went to sleep sometime around 11:30 that particular night. Is that correct?
I got into bed around 11, and I read for a while. And I can't tell you I fell asleep immediately or in 40 minutes.
All right. And would it be correct that you perhaps fell asleep about 11:30 or 11:40?
It's a possibility, yes.
Did you so testify at the preliminary hearing?
I believe I did, yes.
11:30, 11:40. And at that time, that was fairly accurate as far as you know?
As far as I know, yes.
And as far as you know, the dog may have continued to bark later than that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Would you also indicate or testify that it's not unusual to hear dogs barking in that particular neighborhood?
Yes, sir, I did say that.
And you never at any time went outside in an effort to see where that dog was barking or where that dog was, did you?
No, I did not.
Did you indicate at the preliminary hearing that you usually watch the first 20 minutes or so of the news, and it gets into areas that I'm not interested in?
Yes, I think I said the first 15 or 20 minutes of the news, and then it gets into areas I'm not interested in.
Well, would it be helpful for you to see what you actually said? Okay, may I, page 27 of his testimony, Your Honor. Preliminary hearing, may I approach page 27, counsel? Well, let me ask you this. Did you, just refresh your recollection. Question, is that a 1-hour newscast? Answer, well, I don't know. I usually watch the first 20 minutes of the news, then I it gets into areas I'm not that interested in. Is that correct? Do you remember so testifying?
Yes, I do.
And then you went on to say, question, I see. So you regularly stop watching after about 20 minutes? Answer, about 20 to 25 minutes, yeah. Recall so testifying?
I believe so.
And then you went on to say, and it was about 20 or 25 minutes then into...
Well, objection, that was the question, not the answer. This witness did not go on to say, counsel went on to say, that it was about...
Let's be clear on the question and answer here.
Okay, may I finish, please? Okay. Let me read this question so we're clear. Question. I see. So you regularly stop watching after about 20 minutes. Answer, about 20 to 25 minutes, yeah. That was the answer. And is that how you so testified, sir?
I believe so.
All right.
Objection, Your Honor. Counsel stopped short of the actual answer for that night.
If you would just sit and be patient, I'm going to get the rest of the transcript. I might be able to
Yes,
conduct
right
this.
there.
Counsel, hold on. Next question.
Thank you, Your Honor. And continuing on, you recall being asked this question and giving this answer, sir.
Well,
And it was about...
I recall being asked that question, and I think I corrected the question when it was asked.
All right, let me read you the next question and answer.
Okay.
Question, and it was about 20 or 25 minutes then into the newscast that you first heard the dog. Answer, no, I think. And just like now, Your Honor, objection, Ms. Clark. The witness, it was about 15 or 20 minutes into the newscast that I first heard the dog. The court, excuse me for just one moment. And then goes on the judge. The judge admonished the lawyers then, just like now. Did you? And then the question, and I'll end it with this. The question was, did you hear the dog continue to bark as you were watching the news? Answer, yes, I did. Right?
Right.
Did you ever become aware of any members of the Los Angeles Police Department out and around in that alley south of where you lived that particular night?
No, I did not.
And you, when you awakened the next morning at or about 9 o'clock or whenever you awakened, you had this conversation with the two police officers I talked to you about that next morning on the 13th. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And as you were talking to the police officers, you described for the jury, they were focusing in on you. Did they seem to be writing down what you were saying?
Yes, I believe they were taking notes.
And they would ask you questions and they would write something down on the tablet?
That is correct.
And it's true, is it not, that at some point, did the officers ask you to take a look from your house looking southerly down that alley there?
That's right, and I think that's where the confusion arose because we stepped out onto the balcony.
You've answered the question now. They asked you to look south, did they?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then when you looked south, did you say to them at some point that the Jeep was parked there a few days ago? Did you make that statement?
Yes, I believe I did.
And you were referring to the dark green Jeep that you talked about earlier, sir?
Yes, but as I think back on it now, that Jeep was actually there and it was being dusted as we were looking down the alley.
So it was being dusted at that time on June 13th?
Yes, so I was able to say right there where the Jeep is parked.
Okay. And then, but you had not seen that Jeep the night before. You may have seen it?
I had not seen that Jeep the night
Okay.
before.
And so that we're clear, when you said that Jeep was being dusted, what do you mean by that?
The police technicians were in the area and...
They were dusting the Jeep for fingerprints?
For fingerprints, yes, sir.
You saw some powder on the Jeep?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
You are not You're a dog owner, is that correct?
That's right.
And as such, I presume you've owned a dog for some number of years?
A couple of years, yeah.
You're not an expert in dogs barking as such, are you?
No, sir, I do not pretend to be.
And you can't tell a particular pedigree of a dog, one dog over another, when they bark, can you?
No, I cannot, sir.
And as I understand it, you never, at any time that night, saw a dog.
I did not see a dog.
We have just a moment, Your Honor. Thank you. Statement that I read to you, written by the two officers, Tippin and Carr, you have seen that statement before today, have you not?
I believe it was shown to me during the preliminary hearing, yes.
Right. And have you seen it since that time at all?
No, I have not.
That's the only time you think you saw it?
Yes, sir.
And prior to testifying here, did you have occasion to review or read your preliminary hearing testimony?
Yes, sir, I did.
And who gave you that?
It was supplied for me by the district attorney when I was subpoenaed.
Okay, and they gave you a copy of what you testified about before?
That is correct.
And you read that over, of course?
Yes, sir.
And then when you came down here, is this the first day you've been down?
Yes, sir.
When you came down here today, you talked to one of the district attorneys before you took the stand?
I did.
Which one did you talk to?
I believe I talked to Sherry Lewis.
And that's a very nice lady over there, right?
Yes, that is correct.
When did you talk to her?
When did I talk to
Yes,
him?
yes.
This morning.
Have nothing further this morning, Your Honor.
Redirect.
Yes, thank you.
All right, sir, when you indicated that the barking seemed to come from the area of Bundy and Dorothy, did you mean that precisely that corner, the very corner where Bundy and Dorothy intersect?
Sustained. It's leading.
What did you mean by that?
Overruled. You can answer the question.
Basically, that was the general area that the sound was coming from. It would be very hard to pinpoint the exact location, so that is the closest corner, and that's what I used as my, my geographical pinpoint.
As a reference point?
That's all it was, yes, ma'am.
And in your opinion, is the location of 875 South Bundy in the general area of Bundy and Dorothy?
Yes, it is.
Now, you asked for permission to explain to us that statement in the police report about seeing the Jeep.
Object to the this question. It's argumentative and constructive.
Overruled.
And would you like a chance to explain that?
Yes, very briefly, what happened was the two officers asked me if we could go out on the deck and take a look at the house. And we did this, and I assume the confusion arose from the fact that we were out on the deck and that there was a green Jeep that was being dusted for fingerprints in front of the Nicole Brown Simpson residence. And in their report, they made a small mistake and assumed that I had gone out on the night in question.
Overruled.
And do you recall giving that explanation at the preliminary hearing when you were asked about this issue previously back in July?
I may have tried giving that explanation. I may not have made myself as clear as I would have liked to make myself.
Do you recall also being asked at the preliminary hearing back in July about the portion of the police report that indicates that you went out on the rear porch when you heard the barking? Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember being shown that report also.
And did you explain the discrepancy there as well?
Yes, I attempted to.
And do you recall what you explained to counsel back in July of 1994 about that discrepancy?
Object to the use of the word counsel. I was not there.
Mr. Shapiro was.
Overruled.
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
I thought we already explained that. discrepancy.
No, Your Honor, what I'm trying to do is point out a prior consistent statement.
I'm sorry?
Prior consistent statement.
It's asked and answered, it's already covered.
But not by me.
It's still within its redundant, it's cumulative.
It's cumulative at this point.
May we approach?
Sure. All right, thank you, counsel. You may continue.
The objection overruled?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Your Honor. And back in July, did you indicate what the explanation was for that minor discrepancy about the rear, going out on the rear porch?
Minor discrepancy, yeah, that's conclusionary in form.
It is conclusionary, the discrepancy.
The discrepancy.
Whether it's minor or major is for the jury to decide.
Yes, I did try to point it out.
And do you recall what the explanation was that you gave back in July at the preliminary hearing?
I believe I said something about a Jeep also, but I may have been confused and said it had been parked there a few days earlier. That's about all I remember.
Okay. Do you recall, I'm directing your attention now to the statement that counsel brought up about going out on the rear porch in response to hearing the barking.
Yes,
Okay. And you indicated to us that you didn't actually go out on the rear porch.
that is right. I did not go out on the rear
Did
porch.
you indicate an explanation at the time of the preliminary hearing back in July for what that misunderstanding might have been?
Yes, I think I said that I believe they may have been confused because we went out on the porch, and we being the police and I, and looked toward the residence in question.
And did you point out a residence to them?
Yes, I did.
And what residence was that?
The one that we've seen photographs of.
Now, even though we can't see it from the angle of your apartment, nevertheless, that photograph People's 39 that you see now, that photograph, does it accurately depict the location that you looked in when you heard the barking?
Yes, it does.
Just one, I'm directing the phone with that question. You can't even see that part of the building. That's the proper question.
Overruled. She asked if it depicts the building, not the particular view you saw. Objections overruled.
Now, the Jeep that you see in this photograph, sir, People's 39, does that appear to be the same Jeep that you saw being dusted for fingerprints by the police on the morning of June the 13th?
It appears to be the same Jeep, yes.
And that's the one that you describe as green?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you recall being questioned during the preliminary hearing about what time you heard the dog barking, what time you began to hear it bark?
Yes, I do.
And I'm going to direct counsel's attention to page 27, at line 28, lines 24, question, and it was about 20 or 25 minutes then into the newscast.
Hold on, Ms. Clark.
I'm sorry. This was the same page counsel just read from.
27, line 24.
Mhm.
Is that yes?
I mean, yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
You were being cross-examined then by Mr. Ullman, and he asked you, and it was about 20 or 25 minutes then into the newscast that you first heard the dog, and your answer was no. I think it was about 15 or 20 minutes into, where's 28? Into the newscast that I first heard the dog. And then question, did you hear the dog continue to bark as you were watching the news? Answer, yes, I did. And then you were asked for about how long? You answered, 5 to 7 minutes, and then I left. Do you recall those questions and answers at the preliminary hearing?
Yes, I do.
And directing counsel's attention to page 25. Now, you've indicated to us previously, sir, that you've heard dogs barking in that neighborhood before.
That's correct.
So that in itself was not unusual.
Not unusual at all.
But on this particular night, the sound of this particular dog did draw your attention.
Yes, it did.
It was an unusual sound.
Yes, ma'am.
Then,
Overruled.
and directing counsel's attention to page 25, and you were asked the following question at line 16. So it was an unusual sounding bark to you. You answer, right. Question, that was about 10:15 to 10:20, and your answer, yes. And then question, did the barking stop or did it continue? Your answer, well, about this time I stopped watching the news and went down to my office and I did a little work and I didn't come back upstairs until about 11 o'clock. Do you recall those questions and answers at the preliminary hearing?
Yes, I do.
And that is still your testimony, sir?
Yes, it is.
And on page 26, counsel, with reference to the time when you went back up to your room at 11 o'clock, you were asked about the barking you heard at that time. Question at line 18, did it sound like the same dog that you had heard barking earlier at 10:15 or so? And your answer, yes, it was definitely the same dog. Do you recall that question and answer?
Yes, I do.
And that is accurate?
Yes, it is.
And so is it your testimony, sir, that on the night of June the 12th, 1994, between 10:15 and 10:20, you began to hear a dog barking in an unusual way?
Overruled. Overruled.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, sir. I have nothing further.
Thank you.
Mr. Cochran?
Now, counsel referring to the transcript at page 26, line 6, line 6 through 12. Do you have it, counsel? Question, and at 11 o'clock, can you tell us whether you still heard the dog barking? Answer, yes, the dog was still barking. I remember going over to the shutters and taking a look out toward Nicole's building, and I saw some lights on upstairs, but of course, I couldn't pinpoint, where exactly the dog was. You so testify at the preliminary hearing?
Yes, I did.
And, sir,
Objection, Your Honor, counsel didn't finish the passage. It goes on.
That was a question, it was a question and answer.
on page 31, counsel, beginning at the question at line 1 through the question at line 10. Question. Now, you indicate you went to bed at about 11:30. Answer, I went to bed a little after 11. Question, all right. Answer, and I read for a while. Question, and the dog continued to bark? Answer, yes, sir. Question, how long did that barking continue? Answer, until I fell asleep, which may have been 11:30 or 11:40 p.m. Now, I want you to take a look at that photograph of 39 again. I want you to look, can you see that clearly? It might, I don't know what your monitor has on it, but may I put this monitor, Your Honor, to see? Thank you. Yes, is that, yes, thank you, Your Honor. Is that, and then looking at that monitor, does that look like a dark green Jeep to you? Does it look like a black Jeep?
Well, I'm colorblind, so
Oh, well, then okay.
mildly colorblind.
Mildly? Do you have trouble discerning dark greens and blacks?
Yes,
Okay, so it's a dark colored Jeep, is that right?
yes.
Are you a journalist of some kind?
I was for many years.
Were you back on June 12th, 1994?
No, I was not.
Journalist, you were no longer a journalist at that point?
No, sir, I'm not.
Okay. Thank you very kindly. Thank you for coming today.
Ms. Clark?
Very briefly.
Mr. Fenves, you were just asked by counsel on page 26 that you went over to the shutters, you saw some lights upstairs, you couldn't pinpoint exactly where the dog was. And that was in response to questioning about what you did when you heard the barking, where you looked, what direction you looked in. You recall that?
Yes,
And then question, so you were looking out towards where you heard the sound coming from of the dog barking. Answer, that's correct. And you question, and you looked toward Nicole's house? Answer, that is correct. Do you recall giving those answers to those questions, sir?
yes, I do, Mayor.
And is that still your testimony, sir?
Yes, it is, Mayor.
I have another question.
One last question. When you said you looked toward Nicole's house, you didn't know it was Nicole's house at that time. Somebody told you that. Is that right?
That's correct.
Who told you that?
Well, obviously, in the course of the,
Who told you that?
I can't remember. I mean, it was basically international news.
Nothing further?
Ms. Clark?
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Fenves, thank you very much for coming in today. I'm going to excuse you from further testimony at this time. Please don't discuss your testimony with anybody else except for the lawyers until the case is over. Do you understand the order, sir? All right, thank you very much. All right, next witness. Or you want to call it a day? Who do you have next? Why don't you approach? All right, thank you, counsel. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the afternoon at this time. Please remember my admonition to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves in any way. Don't form any opinions about the case. Don't allow anybody to talk to you about the case. Don't perform any deliberations until the matter has been submitted to you at the end of the case. All right, have a pleasant evening. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. Thank you. All right, Mr. Cochran, you had some comment you wanted to make to the court.
Yes, just a passing and kind of a last comment for the day, Your Honor. Ms. Clark is wearing some jewelry today, which looks very, very similar to the jewelry worn by, or the pin worn by Ms. Denise Brown. She had two of them the other day, and I think that it's inappropriate for counsel to be wearing the same thing as the witnesses, as though this is like some kind of a, I don't know how I might phrase it, but I think it's inappropriate. And I called it to Your Honor's attention earlier, and I'd just like to make the record. I think it's inappropriate, given the fact that certainly Ms. Brown can wear whatever she wants to wear, but when we see counsel coming into the courtroom wearing it, I think it's inappropriate. And
All right,
so
just for the record, you made your objection when we were at a sidebar conference this afternoon without the court reporter, correct?
That's correct, so I wanted to indicate
About
that.
an hour ago.
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, well, what are you proposing?
She take it off and not wear it anymore. I don't think that's appropriate. I think you made it clear we're not to wear any badges or buttons or anything of any support. I would be if we came into court and I wore a big number 32 and go walking around here with this jury. I wouldn't do that. It's just like she's wearing this the day after Ms. Denise Brown gets on the stand. And they made some motion about some earring, which has this angel, and she had two angels on her shoulder. I don't think it's appropriate. That's all I have to say.
Ms. Clark?
Any human
Do you
emotion...
want to describe the item in question first so the record's clear?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. It's about maybe 3/4 of an inch big. It's a very small little angel.
Angel, gold angel with wings.
Angel with wings, with arms outstretched. Too small for any detail to be seen by the jury, certainly. I am really shocked at counsel's denunciation of nothing more than human emotion and sympathy. If sympathy is so shocking to counsel, then I wonder why he goes out and speaks of sympathy in such glorious tones when he's interviewed by the press every day on the steps of the courthouse. If obviously what Mr. Cochran thinks is that what's sauce for the goose is not sauce for the gander. This is a very small and very tasteful show of support in compared to all of the jewelry and the pins Mr. Cochran wears every day, which he does and is visible to the jury. But not only that, but of all the constant barrage of publicity that he engages in, sympathetic to his client, sympathetic to his witnesses, denouncing the people's case and the people's witnesses and the victims in his own in insidious ways, I think it's very inappropriate for him, of all people, to come forward to this court and complain something as minor as showing support for the family of the victims in a symbolic way that is not proclaiming like wearing the number 32. It's a very small show of support that is very tasteful, very understated, and nothing nearly as prejudicial as the remarks he makes constantly to the press and the press conferences he tries to hold in court as well as outside of the court. I think that if anyone should come forward and make this argument, it should be one with clean hands, and we don't have one on that side of counsel table. So I would strongly urge the court to deny this ridiculous request, and yet another request to suppress any sympathy or human emotion that may be appropriately given to the side of the victims, who, after all, are two young people who were brutally murdered.
Absolutely, Your Honor. I join in the sympathy for the victims, but Your Honor said we were not to wear buttons, badges, or whatever. The next day she shows up with it. Now, she can say all she wants to say. Our jury is sequestered. Any statements that we're asked when we leave this courthouse, our jurors never see. But she's parading, walking back and forth, showing clothes 200 times today with that madam, that angel.
Mr. Cochran, those kinds of arguments about he did this and she did that and pointing fingers back and forth on all the other transgressions, real or imaginary, don't really persuade me one way or the other. The issue is the lapel pin
Yes.
that Ms. Clark has, whether or not it is identifiable with one side or the other.
It
Ms.
is.
Clark concedes that it is. She says that it's an expression of support. So isn't it really a legal issue as to this pin and not about all these other things on one side or the other?
Focus, it's been a long day, and I appreciate the court focusing me back on this issue. The issue is your order to all of us to comply with, and she's violating that order. She can engage in all the self-serving rhetoric she wants to, but the issue is you told us not to do that, and nobody, she can be supportive, and I want her to be supportive. As a representative of the people, she represents all of us, so that's fine. She can do her job. She's a fine lawyer, but she doesn't have to wear this pin because it's inappropriate. That because you told us not to do it. That's pure and simple, and so I ask you to do something about it. It has nothing to do with any of the sympathy toward the victims. It's your order, and it was entirely and appropriately made. What happens in this courtroom is very appropriate, not outside, because our jury sees this as opposed to anything that happens outside the courtroom. That's why they're sequestered.
Your Honor, if this were a badge or a button that had the pictures of the victims on it, I could understand counsel's concern. But, this is nothing but symbolic. I'm sure that the jurors don't have any idea what it means. Only it is something that is known within the families. It may be indeed known to the public now, but as Mr. Cochran said, the jury is sequestered. It is a symbolic gesture, but not one that is palpable to the jury. It's very small. I don't even know if the jury can tell it's an angel from the distance they're at from me. And I think the court can rest assured that there is no prejudice that's inuring to the defense as a result of this, and I even find counsel's concern in this regard remarkable. Some little pin that the jury can barely see me wear has got him all excited today. I just don't understand it, especially in view of the conduct of counsel. If there's anything that's inappropriate in this case, it's the conduct of counsel before this jury and the kind of speaking objections we're constantly getting and the press conferences that counsel's always trying to hold wherever he goes. So I really... And as my learned co-counsel points out accurately, Mr. Cochran is always coming into court wearing a cross. These are all symbols and gestures. His symbol is even more explicit. If we're going to take off pins, everybody take off pins.
What I'm wearing today, I wear
No,
pins.
Mr. Cochran, you have a wide assortment of lapel pins.
And my pins are not identified with O.J. Simpson, Your Honor. And so that they protest too much again, Your Honor. I point out, as an officer of the court, what you had told us not to do. And what she fails to understand is she's wearing this in court where the jurors can see it. And if you recall, she tried to elicit testimony from Ms. Denise Brown about the earring, wearing the one earring and why we stopped that. She tried to elicit testimony why she was wearing this stuff right here in court. This is an orchestrated thing. So we have an obligation for our client to bring this out. We brought it out, Your Honor. I'm not going to belabor it any further. And she can make these long speeches, but the fact remains she has it on. She shouldn't have it on. She knows she shouldn't have it on. And we ask you to rule on it.
Well, I don't know any such thing, but let me explain one thing to the court. The counsel's misrepresenting completely. We were asking Ms. Brown to testify to the fact that Nicole wore mismatched earrings, one dangly, one stud. Not an angel at all. The counsel gets all excited and gets worried, about the fact that the jury, no. Counsel still has it wrong. All we wanted from Denise was to testify that she wore mismatched earrings because they found one dangle and one stud on Nicole. That's all. And because counsel's so worried about this jury, God forbid, feeling sympathetic to two young people who were murdered, they're jumping all over us before they even know what the answer to the question might be. But the truth of the matter is, we were not going to elicit any testimony about an angel. Rest assured of that. We were going to elicit only the testimony I've indicated, and it was an appropriate thing to do, given counsel's insistence on trying to portray this as a robbery or burglary murder. And that's all we were trying to do.
See, to my recollection, we've only had one member of the Brown family testify thus far, correct?
That's correct.
I saw a similar, although not identical, piece of jewelry that Denise Brown had.
Right.
I don't recall if the Goldman family wears the same jewelry. I did not notice anything on Kimberly Goldman.
No, I didn't either.
Although, to tell you the truth, jewelry is not my forte as somebody who wears plastic watches. I mean, this is not something I pay attention to. Ms. Clark, my concern, though, is your concession that it is a show of support. And if either family is wearing these as some symbol, then, and if it is possible for the jury to identify it as such, then it's probably not appropriate. And if the family members are going to further testify and wear these things in court, I agree with you, they are very subtle and they're very small, but I don't believe it's appropriate for counsel to wear one of these. All right.
Then, you know, I don't know who's wearing it anymore, Your Honor. If we could ask the court to defer its ruling until we see what the families look like in the morning?
Well, counsel, I've told you, I feel it's inappropriate. I plan on doing another Lexis search on these types of things, but I think in the morning I'm going to reaffirm the ruling.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, counsel.
Thank you.
Let me see you briefly without the report, please. Hold on. All right, can we have it quiet, please? Ms. Clark, you have a witness you want ordered back?
Yes, thank you.
Who is that?
Eva Stein, Louis Karp, Sucru Bostepi, Stephen Schwab.
All right, Ms.
Sorry
Clark.
about that. Eva Stein, Louis Karp, K-A-R-P-F, Sucru Bostepi, common spelling, Stephen Schwab.
All right, each of you is ordered to return to this courthouse tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m., report to the district attorney's office. Do you each understand the order? Are they all not in the affirmative? Mr. Bostepi, do you understand that? All right, thank you very much. All right, let me see counsel without the report, please.